Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. It's a pleasure to be back. Hope you're all keeping well on this very fine Wednesday evening. We're back in blue, and it's COTA. We're off to the United States Grand Prix circuit. I am buzzing to be back here. My name, of course, being George Morgan. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. Alongside me, the Irishman. It is Jack Cannan. Jack, we're back. Can Barry go 3 from 3?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, it's looking really good so far. The last time he did do 3 in a row was back in the first series of PSGL PC. But let's see if he can do it. He's on a great run of form so far. We're at COTA, which is obviously has given us an amazing races. All you have to do is look back at last season's one to find out. But of course, the interesting one is our last winner from that was a certain Jarno Wotmir, who's back on the grid.
Yeah, he's a little under the weather, but let's remind you also what happened at COTA in F1 Esports as well. Jarno Wotmir's incredible final lap charge, and there was literally the words coming from Alex Jakes, "Through goes Wotmir." It was literally that. It was, once again, the phrase that pretty much sort of suggested Mercedes last season. We certainly saw the same with Hamilton when we went racing at Silverstone as well. But we are now going racing here at COTA, this time in PSGL for this new season. Of course, 3 races in now. The big question is, on everyone's lips, can Barry Burman come back and secure a 3rd race win in a row and match his record from the very first season that we went racing here at PSGL on the PC platform? But he's not alone, Jack, because back comes Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, he's back, and he's back with a vengeance from last time, of course. Remember his brilliant qualifying. Didn't get a chance to properly show what he's capable of in a race situation. But he's back on the grid now, driving the Red Bull, so excited to see how he gets on. There's a couple, obviously, of new faces joining us here this evening on the grid. We have some which we will go through in a few moments time. Of course, we've got changes at Ferrari. We've got Harvey Cowan, who's in a Ferrari for his PSGL PC F1 debut. Iker Bena as well, he's also in the Ferrari as well. And Mirko Suriano in at Haas, replacing Matthias Van Erven. So some new faces across the board for us. But as you said, Barry was the last person to do 3 in a row. But he still, even if he does it tonight, he still won't quite match the absolute race win record for the wins that are won in a row, which of course belongs to Jarno Wotmir, because he did 5 in a row 2 seasons ago.
He did, and let's not forget as well the recent events, Jack, of Race of Champions. Me and you were discussing it just before we went on air. Of course, the superb work by Lucas Blakely and Jarno Wotmir. Blakely actually defeating the likes of Mika Häkkinen and also that of Valtteri Bottas, 2 Finnish drivers, and obviously you'd associate Finland with a plethora of great rallying talents. Obviously, the likes of Mika Häkkinen would have performed in those conditions, not to mention Bottas on several occasions, Jack, which really made Blakely's success, not only his success, but Jarno Wotmir's success, that much more impressive.
It really was, and it really just goes to show these guys have talent. It's not just sitting behind a screen and turning a wheel for some cases, but these guys are translating this into real-world success, and even going one better than they did last year, defeating Finland on ice. I mean, that is incredible. So congratulations to Lucas, and a massive congratulations to Jarno as well, because they really showed us, I want to say us, with the sim racing community in a really, really positive light. It was great to see them as the representatives for sim racing out there. But of course now, Jarno's back home, absolutely, completely under the weather, but is still going to race this evening, so we appreciate him taking the time out as well. And, well, let's see what he's capable of. I'm not quite sure if he's going to get to the same levels that he did last season, taking the victory, but let's never count him out.
Absolutely not. Philip Prejnader, though, the first car out on track. And, of course, now making his way through the S section. Very high speed at this point as well. And Philip Prejnader, who raced for Alpine in F1 Esports. Still question marks as to where he's going next season, as to whether he'll make an appearance next season at all, Jack Cannan. Already, though, we're seeing some of the drivers manoeuvring around. We had confirmation on Twitter from Brendan Lee that his contract at Ferrari had come to an end. A lot of rumours around the F1 Esports circle, Jack, and which could lead to a lot of drivers actually bumping teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes going on in the background. Of course, it wasn't just Brendan Lee who was leaving Ferrari, there's David Tanitsa as well. So there's new lineups going in at Ferrari and plenty of movement going on behind the scenes. But it's very interesting to see Brendan Lee leaving Ferrari, of course, and we'll see where he ends up. Could he end up back at his old alma mater of Mercedes? Let's wait and see. But it is an interesting question, and of course, if we ever see, let's see if Brendan Lee makes an appearance back in PSGL at some point in the near future. And as we say in PSGL, if you ever see a driver in a particular car, unless they're a reserve, they're a full-time driver and they've chosen a particular car, it's not a coincidence, George Morgan.
No, it's certainly not a coincidence, Jack Canan. You're absolutely spot on. Philip Presneda now heading through the final two corners. We've witnessed it time and time again where drivers line up in a PSGL season in a new car. We then start asking questions, of course. We were absolutely spot on, Jack, if you remember, all the way back to when Barry Burmand made his move to McLaren Shadow. I believe it was actually at Paul Ricard, if I remember correctly, and we deduced that he would have made that move. That was the, certainly the answers we were coming up with, and he certainly did show up in Papaya when they went racing in that season of F1 Esports. But Philip Presneda now on his first flying lap, this time on intermediate tyres, though, a common trait that we tend to see, certainly at the very early stages of qualifying. And we'll see what times they can enlist. Obviously, it's just to save a set, get used to the track, make sure everything's working A-OK, and you'll certainly see how he gets on. But already we're seeing a couple of drivers donning the softs very early on, of course. Into 13 minutes now left of qualifying. Danny Beresnay out on track, as well as Manuel Biancalila, who marks a return for Aston Martin.
Yes, I was a bit later until cars started appearing out on the circuit, so some drivers not bothering to come out at all in the early sort of 5 minutes of this, and are now starting to make their appearance. Will Lewis out on the track, as well as Danny Beresnay's on an out lap on softs as well. So only two cars opted to go for a sighter lap on intermediates. That was Philip Presneda and Patrick Sipos. So interesting to see how this is going to end, of course. Remember how close qualifying was last week. An incredible shootout for pole position between Barry Bormand and Thomas Ronnar. Will we see the same again, or will somebody else rise to the top of the order this time? And, well, he's not on the grid today, but the last winner, the winner of the first series here, back all the way back in the initial first inaugural season of this championship, was Alvaro Caraton, but unfortunately does not join us today.
No, Philip Presneda, though, enlisting the first time on the board, a 138.074. You can guarantee you, folks, that we'll certainly see better times than that. Soft tyres being donned by Danny Beresnay, so you'd firmly expect him to go faster than that of the intermediates of Philip Presneda. Heading down now the next straight. DRS opens up at this point, but before you then meet the speed trap at turn 12. And then, of course, it's into the final sector where you've got turns 13, 14, 15, right through to turns 20, the final corner of the circuit, and then the DRS straight heading up towards turn 1 when you commence another lap. Alfa Romeo, though, currently sat out on track with Danny Beresnay. Patrick Sipos goes fastest on the intermediate tyre, going a considerable time faster than that of Presneda. In fact, 0.8 of a second the difference between Sipos and Presneda. I'm sure Danny Beresnay, though, will go to the top on this faster set of tyres, the soft tyres that usually we don't see in the very early stages of qualifying, but Beresnay feels it necessary to set an early time. Biancalila doing the same, but straight into the pit lane, Danny Beresnay, so he will not set that lap.
Nope, decides to bail out of it and comes straight into the pit lane once again without finishing that lap. Biancalila is in the final sector at the moment, at the end of his lap, so we'll see how he gets on, whether he decides to bail out or whether he will come across the line and set the first sort of benchmark time for this session. Biancalila, of course, with Aston Martin F1 Esports, and sort of made appearances that he didn't think he was going to make during the last F1 Esports series, but of course filled in multiple times and has very much become part of that team now and made plenty of appearances since. Here comes Biancalila then round the final corner. He is going to set a lap in this case, comes across the start-finish line and will go to a 32.565, and that is the first time on the dry tyres, so to speak. The next driver that will do that, though, and the only other car really that's out on a lap, is Will Lewis.
Yeah, marking yet another return here at PSGL. Will Lewis In fact, had a wonderful start to the season in terms of qualifying pace. Was unfortunate at Australia, actually DNFing in that first event, but came back though at Abu Dhabi and scored his very first PCF1 points, and now he's about to cross the line himself. Now goes faster than Manuel Bianchilila. A lot of questions around Will Lewis at the moment, folks. He's been linked certainly with many teams in terms of F1 esports. A young man, certainly looks on track to get a seat in F1 esports. The big major question though is, where does he go?
Well, but the way the silly season is going, it could literally be anywhere, couldn't it? So we'll keep our eyes out for that. And but again, he is a reserve, of course. But you know, sometimes car choices never really a coincidence. But again, it could literally be anyone. But it would be great to see Will Lewis making that jump up to the big time. And now it's getting busy out on the track. Otis Lawrence out as well. Mirko Soriano, he's also out in his Haas colours at the moment. Luke Smith on an out lap as well. So the only two cars that haven't bothered to come out are the two Mercedes, and Patrick Seepos has just come in, as well as a couple of others. Barry Borman not yet out on the circuit, but again just emerges as I mentioned him. So it's getting very, very busy out on the track at the moment. And what looks at the first car to get us sort of underway for these runs is the Pole Tomek Paradzic.
Yeah, Tomek Paradzic making his also a return here for Alfa Romeo. Of course, we just saw his teammate Danny Berejne, who went into the pits on his opening lap. He's now back out on track again, Berejne. But here is Paradzic, his teammate, heading up towards turn one. And a young man, as I said before, in previous broadcasts that we've had here at the PSGL PC Championship, some say that he could have done a little better in F1 esports. We all know him, though, to be a class act, a winner in Polish F1 as well, taking their greatest esports prize in Poland on the Formula One series. And he is certainly not a character to be trifled with, Jack. He is a very aggressive driver, very talented though nonetheless, and isn't scared to put in the big laps. And as I say, that purple in the first sector goes Tomek Paradzic.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about a Polish championship, that is some of the highest levels you can get, because there is a lot of talented youngsters out in the Poland area. Lots of very quick guys, and he came out on top in that regard. So Tomek continuing to impress and heading into his towards his second season of F1 esports, with his first one under his belt now, and is of course now going to take all of those learnings that he would have taken from the first season into the next one, and continuing to league race, of course, to show us what he's capable of. Why Alfa Romeo chose to go with him. So round the triple apex right-hander he comes now towards the end of his lap. It's been very tidy so far, and of course now running right out to the curb. A lot of understeer through that left-hander he got there, so this is not going to be a lap he's going to be particularly happy with, I would imagine, and goes into second. So that there goes probably about 2-3 tenths to that one left-hander. Just got a bundle of understeer and didn't quite hook it up together, but still plenty more laps to come. 6 minutes to go. Every single car except Will Lewis is out on the track at the moment, and the next car to cross the line by the looks of it is Luke Smith, and he goes up to the top on the 32.2.
Yeah, great lap indeed from Luke Smith. Danny Berejne also following his Alfa Romeo counterpart. Paradzic goes to the top, 32.198. More and more cars coming across the line. Duncan Hoffland going fourth fastest for Williams, partnering Luke Smith today, as Otis Lawrence goes second fastest in behind Danny Berejne as well. More and more cars making their way through. Philip Prejneda goes 10th fastest. At this point, Pedreño's 7th fastest. More and more cars still continuing to make their way onwards and upwards. Joost Noordijk returning after missing last time at Abu Dhabi. Back here now at COTA. Goes 7th fastest, with Wilson Hughes now 6th fastest out on track as well. Mirko Soriano on debut, 9th fastest in the first instance. Thomas Ronhaar, the man who's been battling with Barry all season long. Barry Burman and Ronhaar have had two spectacular duels around both Australia and of course Abu Dhabi. Jake Benham, the all-star, goes 2nd fastest. Barry Burman, twice a race winner already this season, holds 2 from 2. He's just gone 2nd fastest here in the first session of qualifying. But Patrick Sheepovs, a 132.157, steals it from Thomas Ronhaar in the early going.
How close do you want it? How close do you want it? Up the top, 32.1 all the way down to the top 5, separated by virtually nothing. And it's Patrick Seepos who takes the early blood then in the first runs of Q1. But you can see Ronhaar and Borman separated by just 100th of a second, and Jake Benham in behind on a 196, and then you have Danny Beresne just 2,000ths behind Jake Benham. This is super, super close. Only the two Ferraris still to come out and set an actual time at the moment down the back of the field. But it is an interesting start to Q1, and it is going to be a very close, I think, cut-off point for this. Currently in the drop zone at the moment is Preschneider, Otmir, Cowan and Bena at the moment. The cut-off of 32.564. Expect that to fall quite quickly. 4 minutes left on the clock. So it's going to be a tight enough turnaround for these guys to come in, get new sets of tyres on and get back out again. It's probably one more run for these guys, but I would say I'm surprised to see Sipos up there, but I'm actually not, because he is a winner at PSGL after all.
Well, do you remember when he went pole at Silverstone, Jack, in our opening event? It was a little bit of time ago now, but he's marking a return here tonight at the USGP circuit of COTA, and leads Q1 currently with 3 minutes and 50 still to go. Manuel Biancalila currently on the precipice of elimination. He can get himself free. Chanakinchi right on the bubble in 15th place. Preschneider, Jarno Otmir having a tough start here to qualifying. Of course, feeling very much under the weather right now. He's only just returned from Race of Champions as well, where he gave it absolutely everything. It's also been a very testing esports season for Jarno Otmir, but back nonetheless. And despite feeling ill at this point, still felt that he could race tonight in PSGL. And it's great to see the Flying Dutchman back, whatever the competition might be.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can probably bet he didn't practice at all for this. So the fact he's even bothered to show up is a testament to his characters. And Patrick Sipos, he's retired, as has Ronar and Borman. They have all just done one single run. They're happy, and to be honest, they're probably right to do so. Now the Ferrari on their way out of the pit lane very slowly, but coming out is Bena. Harry Cowan not bothering to come out at the moment. It's going to get a bit busy out on track now with these final few runs to come. So anybody who's in the drop zone really will be making their way out, and nobody, I think, really from a 32.3 downwards is going to be feeling too safe.
No, not at all. And already you're seeing Pedreño coming out, Akinci, Biancalila, and Jarno Otmir choosing to stay in at this point. Harvey Cowan has still not left the pits. Otis Lawrence retiring from the session as well. The top three have retired, so is Danny Beresne and Otis Lawrence. So that is certainly a display of confidence from those five drivers. Jake Benham opting to stay in at least for now. Might still yet decide to retire, but just look at that top seven, folks, within a single tenth of a second. And the grid stretching all the way down to Jarno Otmir in 18th place. They're all within half a second themselves. Luke Smith retiring as well. Impressive qualifying performance again from Will Smith, Jack. Will Smith, should I say Will Smith? That is incredible, incredible. I tell you what, I got Will Smith on the brain. Will Lewis, should I say? I can be forgiven. Luke Smith is 7th. Will Lewis is in 8th. So come on, give us a break. Will Lewis though sits in 8th spot. And another brilliant qualifying performance. He's come back again now. Sits 8th fastest, just outside the 1.5 tenths of a second gap.
I would give you a break, George, but I'm not going to, because they're completely different names.
Sorry.
That is they're
so nice
names.
of you, Jack Cannan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But anyway, Will Smith, Will Lewis is starting his lap now. But I tell you what, he's probably one to watch, to be honest. He's looking quick. That 32.3 was on his first run, and I reckon he's got time in it.
Well, we're now watching Lewis make his way through the hairpin section at the top of the hill now, heading in towards the S section once again in the Williams, marking yet another return here. Sits in P8 currently, Will Lewis, and just below the 0.2 of a second margin. Sipos still on top and has retired from the session. Can still get P1 up for grabs here, Will Lewis, now heading through this next left, and he'll then venture down through towards turn 11, coming out of turn 10, little kink in the curve before he then heads down and brakes just after the 100, in between that and the 50, more like the 75 point. Now making his way out of turn 11. He's got the long straight where DRS will open up here now for Will Lewis. He'll then make his way down through towards turn 12. The speed trap opens up at the back end of this straight. And it'll lead him now in towards sector 3. Of course, he's got a plethora of corners upcoming as well. Lots on the table here for Will Lewis. A driver, as I said before, linked with various esports scenes. A very vibrant talent, a motivated talent. There's certainly been showing his talents in F2 of PSGL as well. Not to mention a hot tip for the Challengers Series that is just around the corner. Obviously, qualification has opened up for that one recently, as now we're seeing Lewis make his way through the final 2 corners in this circuit. 19, now turned 20. That's all that's left now. Will Lewis back on the throttle, little and tiny. Oh, dearie me. Big mistake. He'll remain 8th fastest. A big moment there, certainly for him. Harvey Cowan out on track. Ika Boehner topples Will Lewis, his F2 counterpart. Parajic goes 8th fastest at this point as well. More cars coming across the line at the end of qualifying. Duncan Offland also coming across as well. Not to mention finishing in 12th place currently, but it's still up for question. Ruben Pedreño, 14th fastest. Manuel Biancalila, 15th fastest himself. More and more cars starting to trickle across. The McLaren of Wilson Hughes going 7th fastest as well. We've got Philip Prejneda, who's 16th. He's out of qualifying at this point. More and more cars coming through. Joost Noordijk, as I said, 13th. What about Mirko Siriano? 13th fastest himself. Harvey Cowan crossing the line. He's currently in 20th. Can he break free? Disappointing showing from Harvey Cowan. Eliminated at the death. So there we go, folks. Crazy end to Q1. Will Lewis very nearly losing the car altogether, but stays in nonetheless, finishing in a decent position. But nevertheless, it's certainly been... Oh, he said stay in. He actually finished P16, Jack.
Just got knocked out short. It's a 10th.
It's a mere 10th.
It looked like the top 15. It's a 10th.
It literally looked like he stayed in. He looked like Will Lewis had stayed in. But credit to Jarno Opmeer as well, staying in P11 place. Obviously, Will Lewis just getting knocked out right at the death. Of course, Chana Kinchi getting himself up into P12 as well. Tomek Parajic up in the top 10. But your P1 sitter, Patrick Sipos, still holding on to that P1 spot. Had every right to retire after that one. Finishing ahead of Ron Haran-Buraman, Jack.
That might be one of the closest sessions I've ever seen. And that was at... I'm surprised, honestly. A 10th of a second down to 15th and 2/10, basically separating the entire field. Classic PSGL. It's only Q1 as well. But yeah, very, very impressive from Patrick Sipos as well. First time he's topped a session in a good while, but looking very quick out there. But Opmeer getting in at the very last moment. He'll be happy with that as well. And not too far, again, like I said, a 10th covering the top 15, so not far off the pace at all. But like we now see from this qualifying session, even half a 10th is a monumental gap.
It is. And I tell you what, alluding to my Will Smith mention earlier on, obviously, it is the wild, wild west, folks, here in Austin, Texas. And I think Will Lewis is feeling that. Knocked out in Q1 by the skin of his teeth, Jack. He's going to be disappointed with that.
Yeah, he will be. It was if he, again, that small error in the final corner, that was what cost him getting through, simple as. And he'll know that, but he will, of course, take that as a learning curve. Again, just got a little bit too eager on the throttle coming out. It's probably thought that he was either up or was very, very marginally up, felt he needed to go, or felt that he had more time in the corner, just overdrove it a bit. But we're now in Q2. Every car is out on the circuit except for Jarno Opmeer at the moment. So very, very busy out on the track. Everybody trying to get in, probably an extra run here, but they're all squabbling for position already, and it's only qualifying. I
know, absolutely. And it's going to be scintillating nonetheless. We got all the cars bar one. Jarno Opmeer opting to stay in the pits, at least for now. Of course, we're into the 13-minute and 30 section of this Q2. As now Joost Noordijk makes his way down the straight. He won't be the first car to commence a lap because that will fall towards an Alfa Romeo, that being Tomek Parajic. Both Alphas making it into Q2 as well, which they'll be delighted with. Parajic back and looking to fight in amongst the top end. But I'll tell you what, Patrick Sipos showing again. We've got to speak about him, Jack, because finishing ahead of Ron Hart and Barry Burman, obviously those two have been contesting all season long for race wins. I mean, it just goes to show Sipos has the talent. And while it comes in fits and starts, he does have the pure ability. We've seen it before. You know, imagine if he was a consistent competitor. He would be so dangerous.
Yeah, it certainly would be. And, you know, obviously Alpine losing two big names last season in the form of Fabrizio Donoso and Nicolas Longe. And then the reins, I suppose, of the team handed over to Sipos, who was the most experienced driver out of the two, for Luke Smith as well. But, again, this is a chance now because he has definitely got pace. And now just having that year behind him can now continue to build on that. And we'll see if he can convert into something today. Of course, it's only Q1, but again, early Q1 pace is very, very good from Sipos. So let's see if he can get himself a good result today. Of course, Luke Smith, obviously off the back of a brilliant result a couple of races ago. So wanted to keep that momentum up for Alpine in this season at the very least. So laps now underway at the moment, and just looking here, a couple of fastest sectors coming in. Chanakinchi, he has actually invalidated, so he will not be setting a time, but it will be the Alfa Romeo of Tomek Paradzic, I think, is going to be the first to set a lap, and then it's the big long train of cars that follow just behind him around the Triple Apex. Still no sign of Jarno Wapner coming out. Obviously, he's not going to bother to come out until everyone else finishes their times. He'll probably want the track to himself, because why not? Into the final corner comes Tomek Paradzic then, because he gets underway, and you can expect these runs to be on used tyres. 32.9 for Paradzic on his first run. Duncan Hoffland slotting in behind him, and Mirko Soriano slotting in between them. Then here comes Ronar will be next across the line, 32.574. And remember, these are all, again, probably used sets of tyres. 32.6 for Jake Benham, not bad. 32.7 as well for Sipos, not too far behind. And then Luke Smith about to come across the line, and a big moment through the final corner there. Slots into third place. A couple more still to come. Chanakinchi, of course, he's invalidated his time. One of the Aston Martins coming across the line now. Joks Nordijk slotting in behind. And Ikubena coming across the line, and he goes into sixth. And that, I think, is the first runs completed. Barry Borman, Wilson Hughes, Danny Beresnay, they opted to not finish their used tyre runs and are now going to bolt on a new set of tyres and head out.
Yeah, another sharp visit for Alpine as well. Luke Smith finishing his first opening lap in third fastest. Patrick Schipos in fourth. Thomas Ronhardo back to the top with Jake Benham in behind too. Of course, speaking of Jake Benham, they've been trying to work out where the pace lies, certainly on this F1 22 game. It was something they were trying to figure out in F1 esports, but to no avail on that first venture. Chanakinchi, though, out on track and making his way down the long straight before hitting turn 12. Of course, he'll then venture in towards the latter sector. He's not the only car, though, out and about. Many more are still out on cooldown laps. So Akinci picking a very treacherous time to opt on another run, as he has got plenty of cars out and about. Obviously, he did invalidate that first run, so whether he's looking to put a banker at least on his first set of tyres, then come back in to change again, we'll have to wait and see. But this is a very poignant point in qualifying, Jack, because it can make the difference. Obviously, everyone wants to get to the top 10. Finishing in that opening 10, that top 10, can be so vital when it comes to battling out on track. Just seeing them all come together now. Chanakinchi, the first to bail into the pit lane, getting a little bit of a mishmash there between his own teammate Otis Lawrence and also the Alpine that's just ahead of him.
Sort of reminded me of an overtake that another Red Bull pulled off on
Sebastian Vettel by any chance?
No, we're talking about PSGL here. If anyone remembers, it wasn't actually caught on stream, but I caught a very good view of it. Freddie Rasmussen passing Jarno Wapner on the way to the pit lane in Silverstone. As it reminded me very much of that, which is a pity that we didn't quite catch it, but you'll probably be able to hear from my reaction how it went. And I think there is a POV of it somewhere. I think Jarno has his POV somewhere of a Red Bull somehow squeezing through a gap on the way into the pit lane. It's actually a fantastic overtake, completely legal, of course, but still two wheels on, and was opportunistic. So that's what we like to see. Tomek Paradzic then back out on the circuit as well. Barry Borman and Wilson Hughes, they're out on the circuit now, as well as Danny Beresnay, and this will be the first runs on new tyres, shiny new tyres on Danny Beresnay's car, as is Wilson Hughes's and Barry Borman's as well. So we'll see what the McLarens are capable of. Let's see if we can see if Barry Borman can secure himself his second pole position. Of course, himself and Rona are one apiece. So will they continue that tradition, or will somebody else claim it today?
That's a good question. But at this moment in time, Ron Haar on top here in Q2, Jake Benham in second. Beresnay will be the first to set a flying lap, should he stay as he is. He's got two McLarens behind him, Barry Borman and Wilson Hughes, and then fellow teammate Tomek Paradzic. So it is currently a McLaren and Alfa Romeo story at this point. Obviously, Otis Lawrence currently sits in the pits. He's now fifth fastest out on track. Hasn't yet come out, and as I say that, he's now joining the rest of the cars out on an outlap. Jarno Opmeer leaving it late as well. No lap time set here currently. Obviously 7 minutes and 30 still to go. There is in fact 5 cars altogether that is still yet to set their opening laps. Danny Berejne being one of them. So now heads through the final corner and he'll make the stretch up towards turn 1 now on this next lap here in Q2. 7 minutes to go, near enough. So they will have enough time for perhaps even 2 laps. Obviously you've got to factor in the cool down as well, folks, but nevertheless there might still be a chance they can get one more after this one. Hopefully it won't be needed. Certainly Berejne be hoping not, as he now sends it through the first sector. Coming into sector 2 now at turns 7, 8, 9 and 10. And he'll hit the DRS detection point before then venturing in towards turn 11. It's all happening right now. Berejne, of course, a Hungarian that has been on the F1 esports scene for such a long time, competed in league racing as well, a multiple league racing champion, and was also hot tipped as well for the previous seasons of F1 esports as a future champ as well, partnering the likes of Brendan Lee and, of course, the likes of Jarno Opmeer as well, various others, and has teammated many of the greats. And very much played second fiddle, though, to Brendan Lee when he won his second championship back in 2018. But that doesn't take anything away from the character and the true desire to win that Danny Berejne does have, Jack.
Absolutely, and you know, he's won before multiple times, so just hasn't been able to convert it into a title charge, but you can always expect him to be in and around the top end. So Berejne coming around towards the last 2 corners right now. Even in those first sectors, just looking, Barry Borman had about a 10th in hand on him in the first sector. But let's see what the first run is for Danny Berejne through the last corner. Got that nicely rotated in, comes through 32.0. We're nearly in the 31s here as they're coming through the final corner. Wilson Hughes comes to the top of the 31.9. Borman in behind him. That'll be a 31.9. It's very, very small gaps between them. Tommy Paragis around the final corner. What's it going to be for him? He gets to a 32.012, but invalidated in the final corners. That would have been enough for P3. We're looking now at a couple more stuff from Duncan Hoffman bails out of his lap. Jarno Opmeer coming around the final corner. Where's he going to go? Goes to 432.1. Ronar, I think, is next. Sorry, Mirko Soriano comes through and he goes up to 4th and at 32.093. Next up, well, it would have been Jake Benham. He's actually invalidated. He's going to have to go again. That's not what he needs. Joost Noordijk, he's next then through the final corner. Gets it turned in nicely, hits the apex onto the power for Noordijk, and he goes up to P5, 32.1 for his case. Sipos into 3rd then. Good lap from him once again. A couple more still to come. Luke Smith, the other Alpine, coming around the final corner. He's going to slot up into 8th place for now. Ronar, though, in through the final corner. Will this be his one and only run? Comes across the line and does a 31.716 straight out of the box. So he should be safe on that first effort. And that'll be, I think, the run's over with Otis Lawrence slotting into just about P10 there for the moment. So currently Ronar Borman, the familiar, at the top, but currently drop zone at the moment. Luke Smith and Jake Benham, they'll want to get out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronar on top, 131.716. And that is a good 2/10 clear of Barry Burman up at the top end. If you want to see the gaps, folks, here they are. 2/10 clear from Barry Burman. Remember, Barry Burman and Thomas Ronhaar fighting all start of the season, obviously over that first place position. Of course, Barry has come out on top on both occasions we've been racing this season. Of course, we've already raced at Australia and the United Arab Emirates. Wilson Hughes in 3rd as well. Could be a great day for McLaren in terms of points. Chanakinchi in 4th as well. A great lap from him. 3/10 within Thomas Ronhaar, but we know those gaps can come tumbling down, Jack, because remember that first session of qualifying, the gaps between them were so marginalised at one point, the top 7 all within a single 10th of a second.
Yeah, and the whole field separated with just over a 10th of a second, so it's incredibly tight. I'm amazed though, Ronar has dunked 2/10 on Borman. If you're Borman, you've got to be worried now.
Isn't it? That is
2/10 of a second. Incredible lap from Ronar there. He definitely will not need to go again. So if you're Borman, you're a bit worried now. 2/10 of a second already. But again, just following those statistics though, George, Ronar still has not been able to convert it to a victory. Every time Barry Borman or somebody else manages to get the better of him. So let's see. Well, he's going to obviously retire, and that'll be his runs done. So we come into the pit lane in Q2, and it's going to be a little bit quiet for a moment as drivers switch over onto new tyres, and then we'll get the final runs of Q3. There begins it now. One of the Alfa Romeos heading down the pit lane now, belonging to Danny Berezne, who's on his way out of the pit lane now in his Alfa Romeo. Currently P6, but still very, very tight. Of course, anyone sort of in that 32-0, 32-1 range, definitely not going to feel too safe. And even if you're Barry Borman and Wilson Hughes in the 31.9, you're not going to feel that safe either.
No, not at all. I tell you what, even Barry, I can imagine, is just going to be watching on. Danny Berezne out on the night lap, as we've said, and he's just underneath 3.5 tenths away from Ron Haar's fastest time. So Barry Burman, he's going to feel a little insecure, I think, at this point. Mirko Siriano heading out. Patrick Sheepos feels like he needs to head out again as well. Otis Lawrence still in the pits, but you'd imagine that he would venture out too. But quite a string already heading outwards. If you're watching there as well at home, please make sure you leave a like and also subscribe. Wilson Hughes actually retires from the session over 2.5 tenths back, so maybe it's okay for Burman. Obviously, Wilson feels very comfortable indeed. All the rest of the cars, though, from P4 down to P15, all coming out on another run, the final run of this session. But as I said, if you would please leave a like and also subscribe to the PSGL channel. Don't forget as well to let us know in the live chat who is going to get eliminated here in Q2. Let us know in the chat, folks. We want to hear from you. And we'll then read out some of the answers that we see. Jack, where do you see this going?
Well, it's difficult to know, to be honest, because you've got majority of cars out on the track now. Wilson Hughes has decided to retire on that 31.9, and also Barry Borman has not come out either. So they feel that they are safe on a 31.9. So let's see what's going to take big improvements, I suppose, across the board for everyone behind them. So we'll see how this goes for McLaren, but they are opting to stay in. Chana Kinchi, though, very good performance so far from him and from Mirko Siriano. You have to say, a recent graduate from the console side as well, over to PC, and currently sits in Q3.
Yeah, Danny Berezne, we're currently riding on board with as well, just making his way through the first now into the second sector. Now coming through turn 7, turn 8, and turn 9 shortly as well. Turn 10 will come after this. And then down through towards turn 11 as well. Just heading out of turn 10 now. He's into sector 2 proper. Breaks in halfway between the 100 and the 50. And now kisses the curves on exit as well. Takes a lot of the exit, in fact, and then makes his way down the straight. Opens up the rear wing. DRS active for the Alfa Romeo. Currently sits within, as I said before, 3.5 tenths of a second away from Thomas Ron Haar. Up at the very top. Can Berezne put a hole in that time? Heads through now at turn 12. And he'll then venture into turn 13 as of now. A 1:01.8 in sector 2. Heads now into sector 3, into the very technical section of this circuit now. And now the hexagonal curves awaits as he heads out of turn 15. 16 now ventures into 17 as well. 18, then 19 through this next left-hander. You'll fly through this section, just lift off. A downshift perhaps as he now heads down towards turn 20. Cuts through. We saw a number of drivers taking a nice line through here. Berezne does the same. Opens up the DRS. Second fastest ahead of Barry Burman. That could be crucial, as now we're seeing Tomek Parajic heading through the final point of the track too. Can both Alphas secure their future here in qualifying? Through the final corner comes Parajic across the line. Third fastest. A great lap there from Tomek Parajic, Jack Canan.
Yeah, excellent stuff from them. So big improvements coming through. Siriano around the final corner. Where does he go? Stays in 8th, not able to improve too much there. Jake Benham up to P3. Yes, next comes Joost Noordijk. Doesn't improve his position, invalidates it in the final corner. We have a spinner. Opmeer's round. He's not going to get through. Opmeer spun in the hexagonal curve there. So we see Iker Bena sneaks into Q3 there in P10. Any other improvements? Otis Lawrence through the final corner. He's trying to get himself into Q3 once again. Comes across the line. He bakes it in for Otis Lawrence once again. There's Luke Smith up to P4. And is there any other improvements? No, there is not. So Jarno Watmer will be out in Q2 after a spin. I think there may have been contact or something. There was 2 cars off in the hexagonal curves there. The triple right-hander. Couldn't quite see who it was. But Jarno was certainly around in there. So that's a shame for him. So Siriano is out. Bena, Hofland, Noordijk and Opmeer. And Sifos sneaks in by just 7 thousandths of a second. But some great performances overall. Ron Haar tops it, Berezne through, Chana Kinchi and Otis Lawrence, both of the Red Bulls. Very, very impressive.
Well, just look at the top end, Jack. Ron Haar clear by a whole 1/10 of a second of Danny Berezne. That is extraordinary pace right there. Let's have a look at the final standings. There you can see it at 131.716. The gap of over a tenth of a second separates Ronha and Berejne. Jake Benham, the All-Star, third fastest. Great show here from Benham so far in the opening qualifying sessions. Luke Smith in fourth, Tomek Paradzic in fifth, Barry Burman in sixth, Wilson Hughes seventh, Chana Kinchi in eighth, Otis Lawrence in ninth, gets through to Q3 yet again after that dazzling display at the United Arab Emirates last time. Patrick Schipos in 10th. Mirko Suriano, we lose him, as well as Ike Boehner, Duncan Hoffman and Joost Noordijk. Jarno Opmeer after the spin that would cause him to lose his place as well in qualifying. We're onwards to Q3, folks. Opmeer won't be joining us. A few faces won't be joining us, Jack Kinnan. But already we're seeing some great displays. Ronha clear by a whole tenth of a second. But also you've got to give a hat tip to Otis Lawrence. Again, returns to the PCF1 scene and claims yet another Q3 performance.
Yeah, great job from Otis Lawrence once again. Great job from Chana Kinchi as well in the other Red Bull. You can't count him out, of course, as well. Ronha, Burman, Hughes, they didn't do another run after their first one, so they'll have, I think, an extra set available to them. Jake Benham, he's the sole Mercedes representative once again in Q3, and both of the Alpines through to Q3. Alpine are starting to find form.
They are.
And it is very, very good to see.
Well, they claimed third place last time. Luke Smith, remember, folks, took Jake Benham all the way to the line last time. That dogfight battle that they had on the final lap. It was ongoing. It was coming. Jake Benham just could not quite thwart him for those key points. It would be Luke Smith who would take it, and his first podium of the season as well. He was delighted with that when we interviewed him last time out. But guys, it's your turn to have your say. I want to hear from you. Who's getting pole here at the United States Grand Prix here at PSGL? Let us know in the live chat. I want to hear from you. Looking forward, obviously, to this race, Jack. But first of all, we got a top 10 to decide. Who's getting pole?
Well, I don't know, to be honest, but again, I just judging off of these times and how far he's been in front, I'm going Ronha.
You're going Ronha. Well, there you go, folks. I can tell you that we've got Jess Game saying Ronha for sure. Pole for Wilson Hughes, says George Simmons. We've also got Maris Benek, I think Otis for pole. Tactics rules, Barry's going to get it. Ronha man, says Alfie Scott. We've got Cameron's dad saying Otis has a bright future. He certainly does. And we've got also further down, Belgor says Jake Benham. We've also got Barry says Kurd Blocksberg. Josh is saying come on Jarno. Unfortunately he's out. Dougie Mack, Wilson Hughes all day. Ronha definitely, says Vince Cussy. Jake Benham says Knowlesy. Got Kryptonite saying Wilson Hughes as well. And there you go. You've got a poll. So have your say in the poll as well, folks. Get involved. And we'll read out the results of the poll halfway through qualifying. But it certainly seems to me that a lot of people are feeling a Wilson Hughes effort here. I mean, Otis has had a few names. Obviously, Ronha has been thrown into the mix. That's not really a surprise, given the fact that he's been so clear already in this session, Jack Kinnan. I mean, you can't really say no to the Dutchman, can you?
It's hard. It's difficult. You know, but like barring an invalidation of any kind, you know, but which is very possible. Of course, it has happened before, but you know, he's got that little edge. He's got that little edge. So let's see if somebody can displace him. And you have to say, Danny Berezne is looking very good as well. He was the closest man to him. So let's see if we can get a Danny Berezne maybe front row today for him. So plenty of stuff, but yeah, make sure to vote on the poll for pole in the chat. Yeah, make sure you do, folks. Get involved. But yes, Danny Berezne back out amongst it with the final 10 that they're going to be setting their grid slots here in Q3. Tomek Paradzic also out on track, the very first car to make his way out on his outlap. And another great performance indeed from the pole. And Otis Lawrence as well, he's made himself out too. Alpine looking immensely strong, Jack, as we alluded to. Luke Smith, as we said, coming off the back of a third place at Abu Dhabi. Patrick Schipos, again, showing that old form that we're oh so used to. This is incidentally Patrick Schipos' first start in PSGL this season in the PC Championship. Great to see him back, and he could not have a better start at this moment in time in qualifying. Absolutely, yeah. So let's see what he's capable of now. Tomek Paradzic is coming out of the final corner to begin the first runs of Q3. Everybody's out on the circuits, but Jake Benham, he's waited to be the last car to come out of pit lane, and Tomek Paradzic coming out for his first runs. He's the first car out on track. So we'll wait to see what these first initial paces are. Expect these to be the banker runs to give themselves a delta to drive to and know whether they're up or down. But again, you want to have something just in your line of sight. You can see green. It's psychologically just a bit nicer than constantly seeing red in your delta time. So I don't expect these to be world beating, but then again, some drivers like to come out of the box fighting.
Yeah, well, we know Thomas Ronhaar likes to set early laps that he can certainly take with him to secure his position in this session, but I'd imagine he'll use both in this Q3. Obviously, the track getting warmer as time goes on. Obviously, this is when it'll be at its most optimal. Tomek Peradja should be looking to make the most of it, certainly on this opening lap. A little bit of traffic there in front, but I don't think it'll concern him all that much as he heads out of the next left of turn 12. Now in sector 3 for sure, turn 13. 14 afterwards, and now a little deep dive into turn 15. You're almost turning back on yourself at this point. A semi-chicane, should I say a semi-hairpin of sorts, as he now heads through the hexagonal curves of 16, 17 and 18, and then into the fast left-hander of turn 19, where you almost lift off, just dab the brakes slightly, take all the curb, and then head down towards turn 20. And now Tomek Peradja should be the first man to nestle in a lap here at the very end of qualifying. A 1:32.6 sends the top time, but we have got the Red Bulls making their way through. Channa Kinchi is going to be the next man to enlisted time. 1:32.6 to beat Jack Canaan.
That's about a second off what we were seeing in Q2. So again, like we say, don't expect these runs to be the ones. So here comes Channa Kinchi through the last corner now to set his time of a 32.412. Wilson Hughes comes through the final corner. He has invalidated. That would have been a 31.8. So much quicker than that. But there's a 31.8, speaking of which, from Otis Lawrence up at the top there. And that is only about a tenth off a Ronhaar. So this is getting interesting now. 31.8 for Wilson Hughes. It was an 8.90 for Wilson Hughes, so it still would have been advantage Otis Lawrence. But a 31.8 for Otis Lawrence. Very, very good lap. Barry Borman, he is also on a lap as well at the moment. So let's see what he's capable of. Danny Beresne, that is his first time on those tyres, 32.420. Expect those times to continue to fall. So here comes Borman then. So he's had Wilson Hughes who's invalidated, but that would have been a 31.8. And again, the two have been very evenly matched today. Barry, of course, very, very has lots of compliments for Wilson Hughes. He says he's got the pace of him. There's Ronhaar, 31.5. There it is, 31.5. But Borman gets in front of him. There you go, straight out of the box, 31.5. Advantage Borman.
Well, interesting start already. Borman this time getting the upper hand on Ronhaar. Benham goes third fastest with a 1:31.785. More and more cars venturing their way through. Otis Lawrence, though, with a 1:31.843. If you want to have a look at the gaps, though, here they are. Ronhaar currently sits just above 400ths of a second away from Barry Borman. This time, the Papaya is on top. So a great showing indeed from Barry Borman. He'll be delighted with that. Yet again, starting as you mean to go on, Barry Borman. 2 wins so far out of 2. Could it be 3 out of 3? Or will a certain Dutchman try to stop you? Benham in third. Otis Lawrence in fourth, though. You've got to give Otis Lawrence credit as well, Jack. Appreciate, though, currently above 0.3 of a second. But I tell you what, he's up with the big boys now, moving across from Xbox onto the PC platform. Many consider it the OP platform, the master race. But let's see if he can get a better result this time. Of course, had the misfortune of that DNF at the United Arab Emirates, was not at his rig for the start of the race, so had to almost jump straight back in just as the lights went out. He wasn't ready for it, but currently sits P4. He'd be absolutely delighted already with his take in qualifying.
Yeah, and well, judging off the pace there, Borman on 31.5, you would imagine that Otis has got a little bit more in the tank. Jake Benham as well, consistent as always. P3 for him, currently 31.785. And of course, remember, guys like Channa Kinchi, Danny Beresne, Tomek Peradja have not set representative times. Wilson Hughes invalidated his run, as did Luke Smith and Patrick Sipos. So there is still a lot of topsy-turviness that can go, but that'll give Borman the psychological boost. 400ths is all it is. These two are so close, and you can even see as well, they're 2/10 clear of anybody else. This is another level these guys are on at the moment. But let's see if anybody else can get closer, even potentially beat them, as we have the calm before the storm in Q3.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. 3 minutes and counting. Borman on top, 1:31.511. I can see a wild George Simmons in the chat cheering on his team. Obviously, McLaren fully stocked here at PSGL. Well, of course, Lucas Blakely, though, taking a break after winning the F1 Esports title. They've still got Wilson Hughes and Barry Burman at their disposal. Burman taking full advantage of it. Was right in the championship fight as we headed into the final event of F1 Esports. It wasn't to be for Barry, but he made sure that it would at least be a driver racing in Papaya that would take the crown of F1 Esports. Barry Burman could be set to take the PSGL crown for the very first time. And what it would mean to him as well, Jack, because many occasions as Barry fought for the title, he's lost out to Jarno Watmir on most occasions. This time, though, it might be his chance.
Perhaps it could be, but again, like we said, the previous title looked like it was going to be his as well, and it changed at the very, very last possible moment with the collision between himself and Freddie Rasmussen in Monza. Absolutely iconic moments in PSGL, handing the title to Lucas Blakely, of course. But, of course, he'll have to put all of that behind him, and let's see if he can finally convert to a championship. But he has got that thorn in the side of Thomas Ronhaar, who's, of course, consistently the man he's chasing. But on the 2 occasions so far, he's managed to get the better of him. So let's see if he can continue that for a 3rd time in a row. Oh dear. Right. So we might. Oh, no. Let's see. Right. Well, the stewards are going to have to look at that one, interestingly enough. So Patrick Sibos has apparently got a 5-place grid penalty, so I'm assuming that we'll have a stewards look at that one, because I think he was in front of a Red Bull, and it has deemed him to have blocked him. So that's interesting. But we'll wait and see. That'll be unfortunate for him, of course, but they'll have to, of course, prove if... Well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. That's an interesting one. That's not the first time I've seen that either. But anyways, Chanakinchi through the final corner, and he will begin the runs of Q3, but Patrick Sibos might have just thrown away a good result there.
Yeah, well, Chanakinchi now heading up towards turn 1, taking the high elevation climb before then hitting the hairpin bend at the top of the hill, now descending in towards turn 2, turn 3 as well. The S section almost requisite of that of the Silverstone section of Maggots and Beckett's, only a little bit more enlarged, a little bit tighter, a little bit more aggressive as he now zips through turn 7, turn 8 as well, coming up next, turn 9 after that, turn 10 again, and then the DRS detection as they come under the crypto banner on the top, the Vanatech banner now as well, and now in towards turn 11. There you can see him now just curving the car around. He'll take a lot of the curbing on the right hand side as well, using all the track as he now opens up the DRS. Now making moves down towards turn 12. The speed trap at the end, as I said before, under the DHL banner he goes. And then in towards sector 3. That is certainly next on his list. Chanakinchi, the Turk, who's looking to try and bring himself to the top in F1 Esports, has been on the radar of many as well as an academy talent. Now heads through in towards the next double lefts, of course, heading out to turn 14, 15. And then out of this hairpin section in towards the hexagonal curves of 16, 17, 18, 19, and very soon 20, the very final corner on this circuit. The Red Bull looking to take itself back to the top. Both Red Bulls featuring here in Q3. The timer has hit 0. We're into extra time, folks. Here comes Akinci, the first man to cross the line. It's not enough to rise above P5, but nevertheless, he's in the fight. Paragic about 2, but Danny Beresne is the first Alfa Romeo to come home, at least for now. Comes across the line. 3rd fastest for Danny Beresne. First blood for Alfa Romeo. Not enough, though, for the top time that Barry Burman holds. Luke Smith, 9th fastest. He does not register a lap time. Teammate to Beresne will be Tomet Paragic, who goes 4th fastest at this point. Otis Lawrence, 3rd fastest. More and more cars coming through. Patrick Sipos goes 3rd fastest. Got Wilson Hughes coming across the line. 6th fastest for him. Jake Benham, he comes across the line. 5th for him as well. We have also got Barry Burman. Can he improve at the top? He can't better his previous time, but Thomas Ronhaar also comes up towards the line. I think he was 2nd, not enough for pole. It isn't. Barry Burman is on pole, Jack Cadan.
I am pleasantly surprised. Barry Burman, 2-1 in qualifying to him. So pole position for Barry Burman. Ronhaar on the front row. Patrick Sipos, again, only half a tenth off. But again, if we don't have that penalty, we are actually getting a restart, so he will start P3. Sipos, great results for him. Otis Lawrence starting 4th. Jake Benham in P5. Beresne, Hughes, Paragic, Akinci, and Luke Smith, who invalidated on his final run. But again, It's a Borman run our front row, but in the qualifying battle, 2-1 to Borman.
It certainly is. What a start here at this point. Barry Burman managing to claim yet another top spot here in qualifying. A great return to COTA for him. Thomas Ronhard be looking to get that back. Obviously, we're going to wait to hear from the stewards as to whether we're going to get a renewed lobby, because obviously, unfortunately for CPOS, a 5-place grid penalty after being accused of blocking in that session of qualifying, which certainly will not help him at this stage. We're just going to quickly take a very, very short commercial break, folks. We'll be right back after these messages. Well, welcome back, folks. And as you probably would have predicted, by the looks of it, we are getting a lobby restart, Jack Canan. We're not going straight into the race. We will be getting a lobby restart, obviously owing to that 5-place grid penalty that went to Patrick Shepos. So obviously was given unjustly to him. So looking forward to this one. Obviously, once again, we talk about them all the time. It's Barry and Ronhard. The battle continues, Jack, here at Texas. And this time, though, it's the Papaya car on top. It's not Thomas Ronhard.
No, it isn't. And, well, it's a pole that I wasn't quite expecting. But again, I think from what I could see from sector times, it was a case of Ronhard was up on the lap and then invalidated it in the final corner. So, again, I think that is a similar situation to what we saw in Australia. From what I remember, Ronhard was up, but then, Bahrain, and I think it was then a case of Barry capitalised. Again, got the lap under when it counted, and it's 2-1 to him in that regard. But again, like we said, Patrick Shepos, we said to watch him in Q1 and came within half a tenth of the pole, so not too bad from our end there. We are hearing, though, we're getting a restart, but what we are hearing is that it's going to be a wet race.
Well, it's going to be a wet race, folks. Obviously, that is the verdict on the forecast that we are getting for this one. The drivers now entering the new session. Obviously, this gives us a chance, Jack, to sort of discuss what's been happening in terms of the championships. Boromand obviously on top. But the big story is P2. Jake Benham, despite Ronhard being very much at the storybook ending of many of the races, obviously because he had that penalty due to the track limits violation at Australia, meant that he's now P3 in the championship. It is Jake Benham who's second, the All-Star, obviously that little bit more consistent, that second place that he managed to obviously claim at Australia, then picking up 8 points when we went racing at Abu Dhabi last time out. So obviously the more consistent contender when it comes to race trim. Is it a case with Ronhard that, okay, he has the quali pace, but when it comes to racing, he just sort of loses it a bit?
Yeah, well, the statistics, you would say, don't lie. I mean, he's had however many pole positions in PSGL and hasn't managed to convert a single one to a victory. So these are things, of course, that he's got to be thinking of. Again, that penalty on the final lap in Australia would have been a big moment for him as well. Again, big points loss in the championship, and that could be, we don't know, a deciding factor.
And if Barry keeps winning, obviously that just broadens that points gap. Yeah,
it does. And Borman's on pole again, and let's see if he can hang on to it, because each time Ronhard has managed to get him on the starts. That's what we've seen so far. Ronhard is incredibly quick off the line and does manage to hold track position, but again, Barry and McLaren are so clinical with everything they do. They make the moves when it counts and manage to hang on, and it's been ERS management from Barry Borman and the McLaren that have been so telling this season so far. But again, Barry's in a good position to go 3 from 3, but it's a different situation now. We're in a wet race. We haven't had that this season, so maybe this could flip things.
It could well do. And we all know that anything can happen when it comes to Formula One. The truth is also the same for PSGL, folks. It is very much going to be a war of attrition out there at COTA. The Circuit of Texas, obviously we've seen many great moments. Obviously, as I alluded to, F1 Esports, that grandstand finish that we had at Alex Jakes called obviously back then. We are now back again, and it's going to be a different story. I'll tell you what, could be an incident. We could see something totally spice up. Who knows? It could be a new face up on the top, Jack Cannan. Could be Otis Lawrence's chance at potentially a race win himself.
Absolutely, and hopefully he's in his rig this time, or
yeah,
not tabbed out.
He would have learned from last time, surely. I mean, you don't tab out from a PSGL race, Otis. If you're watching, don't do it. But I'm sure he won't after what happened at Abu Dhabi. But folks, we want to hear from you as well. I want to get your comments. Make sure you hammer the live chat. I want to hear your verdict. Who is winning here at Austin, Texas? You were absolutely spot on. Those of you who said Barry Burremand at the very end. But incidentally, it was Ronha who won the poll with, I believe, around about 57%. So congratulations. But we are looking here. William Moran saying Jarno. We got Stimpy F1 saying Ronha is going to win this race at COTA. Let us know. Hammer that live chat, folks. We want to hear from you. As I said as well before, make sure you leave a like and also subscribe as well. Ben Towell says Burremand. We're hearing from Gio. Says 3 cars crash lap 1. That's what he thinks. Dylan Warren saying Barry. We got Kurt Blocksberg saying Jake Benham. Interesting take. Benham not out of the fight as long as he can keep up with the others up at the top end. But do not count out Jake Benham. We got Barry says Fergal Spencer. Pake Binham says says William Bridger. I'm going to say Bridger. Andy Cook, I'm going to look further down. We got Yorisin saying Thomas. We got Panda Short saying Jarno. GM Play saying Jarno as well. Dynamic 79. Mika Hakkinen to win. He couldn't beat Blakely in Sweden. James Rigoni says Binham as well. G's Game saying Rain and COTA, good combo for Otmir. It could be. It could well be, folks. Jarno Otmir says Utsav Goatsai. Jarno Otmir is still carrying a plethora of fans here, Jack Cannan. But it's certainly the word on everyone's lips. There's 3 contenders. You've got the likes of Barry Ronha, but also a bit of support for Jake Benham.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can't count out Jake Benham. Hasn't got a victory yet, but is consistently in that podium positions, and that's why he's a championship contender at the moment. And you never know. You could certainly pick up the pieces here.
What a turnaround that would be if he wins the title. What a turnaround that could be for this series.
Absolutely, it will be massive. And you know, Mercedes go well here. The previous winner, of course, was Jarno Otmir. And if we look back to the first season, well, we're kind of clutching at straws here. It was a Mercedes-powered car of our Carton.
Yeah, so, there you go. There you go. You're clutching at straws, but you're not entirely wrong, Jack Cannan. I'll give you that. You're not wrong at all. So there we go. It's going to be interesting. A lot of people saying through goes Binham. Louis Welch saying AMD Lewis Welch. Well, there we go. Louis Welch in the fight. I tell you what, he used to be a great driver when he was racing on pad here in PSGL at the top end. So do not count out Louis Welch. That's all I can tell you.
It's in the wet.
Yeah, it's in the wet. Pad traction, Jack. Pad traction at this point. A lot of people giving Benham some love yet again. Jarno Otmir getting a call out as well. We've got used to. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Louis. I'm sorry, mate. But yes, Benham, Minister of Defence. He certainly was at Japan in the final event of F1 Esports. He was absolutely superb. Won't be long now, folks. We'll be going racing there shortly. I can tell you that they are getting the lobby ready. All the drivers that are in will be going racing very, very soon. Welch finally racing on a wheel. We'd love to see it. I know he is working on it, so you never know. We might see Louis Welch back at the top end very, very soon. So don't blink or you'll miss it. But yes, we'll look forward to seeing how Jarno gets on. Obviously, feeling under the weather, Jack. It's a rough combination. Back end of the grid. It's a lot for Jarno to do, isn't it? For no matter how good you are.
Yeah, 15th on the grid, and especially now that we're starting in sort of wet conditions. Everyone's on the same tire, so it's gonna take a lot here for Jarno to get through. But again, we had the safety car last week. The safety car actually didn't help in that regard for strategy. So maybe this week it could come out and actually help us this time.
Who knows? We might get a safety car, and that could be a potential twist in the tail. We've had it before, and we've had many a great safety car restart here at PSGL. If you remember as well, we alluded to Australia at the very start of the season, that fantastic finish from Jarno Otmir when he literally just jettisoned his way through a plethora of cars that were ahead of him, obviously on the soft tyres, because he tactically boxed for that set of softs towards the end, and it paid off because he ended up fighting through for a podium. We could see something similar happening here at COTA as well, certainly given that it's wet conditions, Jack Cannan. You couldn't write off the prospects of a safety car here.
No, absolutely not. We had our first safety car last week, and, well, it's not out of the question at all, especially now that we're in very tricky conditions. Counting down into the race at the moment, drivers are all ready and counting down in the loading screen at the moment, and of course it's going to get underway quite quickly. Formation lap still off at the moment because there is still an issue with it, but it is very much raining around here. We hear it's going to be intermediate conditions at the start, drying up towards the end of the race. So we'll see what happens in that. When is it going to stop? Will it stop? Will it stop early, or will it go right to the very end and maybe last 6 or 7 laps or so dries up super quick? You never know. We'll wait and see. But we're waiting for everybody to come in and grid up. 30 seconds until lights out then.
Yep, 30 seconds and counting, folks. And as Jack alluded to, no formation laps. So we're going to be springing straight into action on this one. So do not blink, otherwise you will miss it. If you haven't done so already, as I said before, make sure you leave a like and also subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel. Don't forget as well to check us out on social media, Twitter, Instagram. It's at PremierSimGL. We're just about to go racing here, folks. The timer is ticking down. And with mere seconds still to go here at COTA, we will be going racing at the Circuit of the Americas for the United States Grand Prix. And here come the lights. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, and the fifth light. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Barry Burman getting away well, so does Thomas Ronard. Patrick Sheepos also getting away, moving to the inside. Barry Burman trying to defend against Thomas Ronard. Ronard made perhaps a mistake there because in comes Sheepos. Sheepos now up to second place. Otis Lawrence getting a lovely start as well, ahead of Jake Benham, battling in the midfield between Siriano and Parajic as well. Burman leads, Sheepos caught napping, Thomas Ronard in third, Otis Lawrence now in fourth spot. A wonderful start from Patrick Sheepos. He's on fire, Jack Kinnan.
Absolutely wonderful move. That was a brilliant drive from him. He saw Ronnar just go a little bit shallow, carried the speed round the outside, and Ronnar had a super sketchy moment on the way out as well. Nearly completely spun the car through the S's. Otis Lawrence putting him under pressure now through that sector, but great start from Barry. His starts haven't been up to scratch this season so far. A couple of cars going wide in the back, but managed to just squeeze Ronnar enough as they nearly go towards nearly 4 abreast in the back, but managed to sort themselves out. Barry leads, Sheepos in second, Ronnar third, followed by Otis Lawrence. Bit of movement going on in the background. Benham into P5. Otmir trying to make some moves here. He's up to P11. Makes that P10 for Jarno Otmir. Up 5 places already into the top 10 is the Flying Dutchman. He likes these conditions, fighting with Tomo Parajic now around the outside, which will turn to the inside again. But there it is, P10 for Jarno Otmir. Great stuff from him. Parajic trying to come back and sticking it back up the inside again. A little bit of wheel banging through the corner as well. This could get a little bit sketchy between the two of them here through the triple right-hander, but it is going to be surely Otmir in front by just a hair's width. There it is, and he moves up into P10. Awesome start once again from the Flying Dutchman, and a little nerdy spin for Chanakinchi in front, but Burman leads after lap 1.
Jarno Otmir getting himself underway in perfect fashion. Burman sets the fastest lap as you'd expect, still leads the way from pole. Jarno Otmir though showing exactly why he is the Flying Dutchman. A flying start on the opening lap. Sheepos still in second after taking Thomas Ronhar at the very beginning of this race. Otis Lawrence having a better start than what he did at Abu Dhabi. Now holds the position ahead of Jake Benham. Danny Beresne in 6th with Wilson Hughes in 7th as well. Jarno Otmir getting closer to Chanakinchi too. Got Will Lewis also making some steady headway as he tries to find his way through past Philip Beresne. There you can see the mean navy blue of the AlphaTauri on that rear wing as now they peel through this middle sector, running a little wide there. Ruben Pedreño as well through this particular section. This could tee up a move here for Will Lewis on his return after claiming his first PSGL PCF1 points last time. Jarno Otmir making moves and already now well into the top 10. He's now gone ahead of the Turk Chanakinchi, Jack Kinnan. Jarno is flying.
This is old school Jarno Otmir making it through the field here. He's using up a lot of ERS though. He's just making moves early on, and in reality this is what he needs to be doing because it is of course the same conditions for everybody. Everybody's on the same tyre, and we know how difficult it is to overtake really once it gets into the same sort of strategy. So needs to make moves early on. Scrapping going on between Duncan Hofflin, Preschneider and Will Lewis. As you mentioned there, trying to come through around the outside. They're only 3 abreast into the left-hander. Look at this. This is great stuff. Hofflin trying to hold on here. Held the inside and now forces the issue for Will Lewis up the inside of the triple right-hander. But a more grip there for Preschneider on the outside. There's contact through there, but they managed to just about get through unscathed. So very, very tricky stuff going on there, but Bormann out in front comfortably, 0.7 of a second clear. Patrick Sheepos in second, Ronnar in third, and Otis Lawrence is keeping Ron are honest in P4 at the moment. Good stuff from them as they file through. So it's going to get, I think, settled down a little bit now. Drivers making positions up, but I think the man who sort of got the bit between his teeth is Jarno Opmeer. If he finds a gap, he's going to go for it.
He certainly will. He's not afraid to make the big moves, already gaining on Luke Smith as well. This will be retribution for Jake Benham, he says, after what happened at Abu Dhabi. Remember those two coming together. Jarno Opmeer looking to tag one back for his teammate as they head through now. This next right-hander at turn 8, turn 9 coming up next as well. He's getting a lovely run out of here. Jarno looking far the better through the first sector and the early second sector. Might choose a late lunge. Slightly defensive there, Luke Smith. Doesn't opt for the move here, Jarno, but heads now out of turn 11. DRS will be cut. Well, no DRS, in fact, because it's pouring with rain here at COTA. Down this next straight, getting a slightly better exit there, Luke Smith, as they now peel down through towards turn 12. Speed trap at the end of this straight. Still Burman leads as they now head down through towards his next left. They've then got the final sector coming up. Still nose to tail, very wide as well. Chanakinchi, I think he was very, very late on the brakes there and is now at the mercy of Tomek Paradzic. Now once again, nose to tail between Smith and Opmeer. Opmeer now down the inside, through now, past that of Luke Smith, but they remain side by side as they now head through towards the hexagonal curves. 16 comes up first, defending again Luke Smith, but hanging around the outside, Jarno Opmeer showing a true stamina test, a switchback as well as they cut all the way through, giving Smith something to think about here late on this lap at lap 3, and already now Burman leaving the session, a problem for our man in P1, Jack Cannan.
Yeah, he's disconnected. Barry's disconnected. He was having internet issues earlier on. He's got to hope his AI hangs on here. This is a disaster for Barry Burman, leading out the front, and unfortunately he's at a DC, so now he's going to be desperately trying to get back in. This is going to hand the lead to Patrick Sipos out in front, if he can get in front of his AI here. But Jarno Opmeer in the meantime is hungry to get past Luke Smith. There's Sipos into the lead. Absolute disaster for Barry Burman. Let's see if he can get himself back in. Hopefully he can, but all that hard work undone just at the absolute worst possible time for him for this. He's going to drop down the order a lot here. Down he goes. Otis Lawrence up to 4th. There goes Benham. And now Berezne will go through as well. What a shocker for Barry Burman. And now he's going to hopefully, we hope to see him get back in. But that is going to be a hammer blow to the Iranian after all of that hard work. But it's now handed the lead to the Hungarian. Patrick Sipos leads the US Grand Prix. Thomas Ronar in second. Otis Lawrence pressuring him from behind as they file their way through. Opmeer still not able to find a way through past Luke Smith here. Struggling to get past the Englishman here, but all fair racing as they came into the left-hander there. And again, will Opmeer try it again? Luke Smith might be wise to it this time, and he does. He goes defensive. Now Opmeer trying to look for this switchback. This is great, good defensive driving from Luke Smith. Parks the car on the apex, no way through. Great driving from Luke Smith, George. Yeah, it is absolutely terrific. We saw a similar taste of this when he took Benham on at Abu Dhabi, but you just see the venom of the Flying Dutchman as he heads now in towards the final sector. Turn 20 comes up next. Jarno with a move now through the final corner of lap 5. A titanic duel between two F1 Esports drivers, and Jarno Opmeer now up into 7th as they head up now towards turn 1. Smith coming straight back at him, refusing to give up here, refusing to give up to a Mercedes like he did at Abu Dhabi. He's certainly trying to show Opmeer exactly what he's made of. And in comes Smith now through the inside as they come through the S section. A little twitch. Opmeer's in front. P7 for the Flying Dutchman here on lap 5. Oh, brilliant move from Jarno Opmeer. But again, Luke Smith, absolutely fair racing the whole way through. Gave him just enough room to make his way through. Jarno Opmeer up to P7 and continues to make his way through the field. He started in 15th, remember, up to P7 already. Barry Burman has rejoined and he's now currently dropped. He's finally back in the car and went from the lead all the way down to 14th position. So that is, and he's, oh, this is a disaster for Barry Burman, honestly. He's having problems, Jack. He had a few issues before we went into qualifying. It was just him. A few other drivers did complain of it, but everyone else is still in the lobby. It's not restartable. The way this is laid out, everyone else is in the session. It's a localized issue for Barry Burman at this point. 14th place, though,
it is heartbreak here, and certainly it looks like at this rate that 3 out of 3 will remain 2 out of 3, as now Will Lewis goes past him as well. Wilson Hughes now has got Jarno pressing him, and Wilson Hughes on the precipice of that second gap. Beresne pulling away from him, and that could very easily tee him up to be another victim for Jarno Opmeer.
Absolutely now, and of course, Opmeer's used up quite a lot of ERS. Wilson Hughes in front is around 80%, Jarno with about 20, but now you can sit behind and maybe just start to save a bit. But again, Patrick Sipos, he's looking comfortable out front, isn't he, George? 1.1 seconds, he's actually opened the gap to Ronar, and it's not exactly that he's been saving ERS either, about the same, so this is great performance so far from Patrick Sipos. Ronar in second, and Otis Lawrence is very much keeping him honest. He's been there the whole time. Jake Benham consistently. This is a big opportunity now for Jake Benham. Of course, he's in the championship fight, second in the championship. This could be a massive points gain for him.
It could also be a massive points gain for Otis Lawrence, third place, on for his potential first PSGL podium. Third fastest at this moment in this classification. Sipos on for his first win as well in his first start here in PSGL this season, and already breaking that second gap on none other than Thomas Ronhaar. And remember, Ronhaar still yet to win a race this season, has always been undone by Barry Burman. His one chance now that Barry's having technical troubles, and Sipos now has taken the reins of the race lead here in lap 6. Ronhaar just can't catch a break here, Jack Canan.
Could it be the case if it's going to drive towards the end? Is Ronar on a dry set? Is Sipos on a wet set? We'll wait and see when it comes to if it sort of dries up towards the end. But again, Sipos is building the gap. He's maintaining it and he's making it difficult for the man behind him. Jake Benham in P4, and he is very much comfortable where he is. Wilson Hughes is next in P6, so now he is the sole McLaren in the points, and he's got Jarno Opmeer up behind him, who's now just starting to save ERS up behind him. But Opmeer looks very, very good in these conditions. Always has looked good in these conditions, but 15th up to P7 and is still looking very much a threat to those in front of him. Luke Smith in P8, Chana Kinch P9 in the final points position, currently held by Tomek Paradzic as they come through the final corner to begin lap number 7 of 28. And we'll see how this one will continue to unfold. But it's a fascinating race now because, well, now we have Borman out of the picture. It could be anyone's up front as Ronar begins now. Maybe just to tighten the noose a little bit. 7/10 of a second it now is.
Yeah, it certainly is. Jarno Opmeer now in behind Wilson Hughes. 1.2 now stretches out to 1.3 for Wilson Hughes between him and Danny Beresne. Jarno Opmeer now getting closer. He's within 0.5 of a second as they work their way into Sector 2. They've got to come through Turn 7 now, Turn 8 next. That Mercedes is so good in these corners. With the rain tumbling down, Jarno Opmeer thriving in these conditions as they head under the Crypto banner now before they reach the Fanatec banner, and now braking just after the 100 as they now take this next left out of Turn 11. Jarno again on the tail of Wilson Hughes, the McLaren Shadow driver for the F1 Esports Charge. Obviously did not get a chance to race in F1 Esports this season due to the battle going on between Lucas Blakely and Barry Burman. Nonetheless, so back here and racing this time in PSGL, Wilson Hughes, and he's already shown this season that he's not to be trifled with. A driver that's certainly been successful, a PSGL former champion, and also picked up 8 points finished P8, but not to mention a podium finish when we went racing at Australia at the start of the season.
Yeah, he's again straight out of the box of the podium, so Wilson Hughes is not one to rule out. Duncan Hoffland getting past Baina there in the Ferrari. Up to P12 goes the Dutchman. And we continue on round once more. Lap 8 of 28 we go on to. And continues to be an interesting race to unfold. We're expecting it to dry up towards the end. But again, will it dry up too late? We'll see in due course. But again, making moves early on is the key to this one, it seems. But again, Sipos in the driving seat. No DRS in these conditions as well, so doesn't have to worry about trying to pull a second lead, but he's sort of holding it around 0.9 of a second at the moment. And Ronar not giving it too much either. Otis Lawrence in third as well, very, very impressive. Benham in P4 being pressured, I have to say, by one we haven't really mentioned, George, Danny Beresne up in the top 5 and looking comfortable. Yeah, he was quite comfortable in qualifying as well, and certainly making Jake Benham think a little bit. Otis Lawrence having a stormer of a second race here in the championship. Obviously the misfortune at Abu Dhabi. It's looking a little better this time. Just watching how the cars make their way through this next left-hander. Jarno Opmeer trying to urge
closer and closer. Wilson Hughes seems to have the measure down this straight, but Jarno a little closer this time. Will benefit from the slipstream. That time gap instantly reverberating backwards. You have to wonder whether Wilson Hughes has a better setter in terms of straight line speed, Jack. It seems that Jarno is better in the corners, perhaps running a higher downforce setup.
Yeah, or it could be the difference between a dry and a wet setup is what we're seeing here. Of course, a lot more downforce on Jarno's car, it seems. Wilson able to get away on the exits and down the straight. So needs to be making the moves in the corners, but again, even just sitting behind here, he's replenished all of that battery that he used up earlier to get himself up to this position. And these guys, they have built a gap over the cars behind. Luke Smith 1.2 seconds behind at the moment, so Jarno very much sitting behind and biding his time behind McLaren and Wilson Hughes. 1.5 seconds up to the lead train at the moment. So let's see, does Jarno decide to go for it, or is he happy to sit behind? You can see Wilson using the ERS down the straight, wants to stay in front. I don't think Jarno's going to fight him too hard either. They want to obviously get that gap closed up to the guys in front, but these guys up front not opting to battle. Jake Benham dropping away a little bit there from Otis Lawrence, a second the gap at the moment, and remains just out of the touching distance of Otis Lawrence at the moment. Lap 9 at 28, very much settled down into the train at the moment, and it is Patrick Sipos still at the head of the field. Thomas Ron are they're sort of trading blows at the moment. Some laps it's 6/10, then it goes out to 9/10, back to 6/10. So it's a real titanic scrap between these two youngsters.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. The Deltas coming in and out all the time, battles raising their heads as we make our way through this race. Lap 9 of 28 is now watching them make their way down this next straight out of turn 11. Obviously heading down towards the speed trap at the end of it too. Turn 12 will be up next. Sipos still holds on to the lead and very much clear. Within 0.8 of a second, it's drifted outwards again. Ron Hart trying to work hard to bring that gap still back into play. As now we're seeing Tommy Paragic down the inside there of Chana Kinchi. They touch rear wing to front wing, but Paragic holds on to that 9th spot and has now got 1.5 seconds to find on Luke Smith, who is 1.2 in behind the Flying Dutchman, Jarno Opmeer. Jarno still around that 0.6 of a second. It does seem to be that the straights make all the difference for Wilson Hughes, able to keep Opmeer at bay. Opmeer doing slightly better at the start of sector 2, as now Harvey Cowan moves past Philip Prejne, past Will Lewis, as these two have been dueling now for so long. Harvey Cowan doing enough to keep the youngster at bay.
Yeah, on debut as well, Harvey Cowan showing that he's mixing it up with the big boys here. As in comes Will Lewis. Speaking of which, has he picked up damage, I wonder? As he comes into the pit lane for his Williams.
Retired.
And he's actually going to retire the car. Yeah, that's going to be it for Will Lewis. So that was obviously damage he picked up. That's unfortunate. So another retirement to add to the list. Barry Borman, his AI is still running around here, but has not managed to get back into the session. What a shame. Barry Borman's in this one. So still a long way to go in this race. Lap 10 of 28 we are on, and it's still Sipos in the lead out front with about 0.8 of a second gap. It's sort of equal gaps all around. Wilson Hughes has been reeling in Danny Berezne. He's brought the gap down to about 1.2 seconds. I think having Opmeer behind him, just sort of shoving him along a bit, is helping his case, and they're slowly bringing themselves onto the rear of the lead train. So very interesting stuff happening across the board. But the biggest gap at the moment is currently of the lead battle. Luke Smith sort of in between, 1.1 seconds off of Opmeer, and he's got 2 seconds to Paragic behind. So he's just trying to bridge the gap a little bit. 2 seconds is quite a large gap to make it through, as Duncan Hoffland trying to go down the inside of Suriano. Suriano coming up his inside into the next right-hander. Gets left some space on the outside. Can he get squeezed out? Maybe. No, finds the inside for the next left-hander. Suriano brings it out wide and cuts up right back up underneath again. Classic switchback, but again, inside line for Hoffland through this 16, 17 and 18. He moves into P11, so a good demonstration of the two opposite lines that can work there through that corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Mirko Suriano, very clever thinking, trying the switch back, just did not pay off for him as they head through the final corner. And now he's forced to look at the rear wing of Duncan Hoffland's car. Chana Kinchi just ahead of them as well, but 1.7 is the gap between Hoffland and Kinchi as they head up towards turn 1. And as they now stretch it now through this next left. Lap 11 of 28, not even the halfway point, folks. We've got so much to come. I can assure you there'll be a lot more battling. Again, Jarno showing that he has the better pace through the start of Sector 2. He's brought the gap straight back down to within 2.5 tenths of a second. This is where he's brilliant when it comes to the bringing down of the delta. Again, alluded to the fact that he might be running a lower downforce setup, or a higher downforce setup, I should say, as Wilson Hughes makes his way down towards, looks defensive again, just wary of the Flying Dutchman in his mirrors there as they very close to touching, heading out of turn 11, heading down this next straight. Now Wilson will surely open up the gap, trying to utilise, again, a lower downforce setup to try and prevent Otmir from taking his place. But this time the Dutchman, with the benefit of slipstream, might opt for a move here. Looks in the mirrors yet again, but Otmir forcing himself to stay behind. P7 is where he will remain, but so dangerous behind the Scot.
Yeah, Wilson felt he needed to defend there. That was interesting there. Otmir wanted to go for it, but you could see the exit speed of that McLaren absolutely on point through on the slow corner exit. And Otmir now is going to have to make it in the corners. You can see he was able to go much later on the brakes, so you have to feel it's gonna be sort of last corner, first corner overtake to use the downforce that he has to try and get away. But it's going to be a tricky overtake here. Wilson Hughes is not an easy customer to pass here around, particularly a circuit like this, but especially when he's running that low downforce on that McLaren. You can see using the ERS to boost away a little bit. Otmir's still using. There's Wilson going defensive again up towards turn 1, but no way through for Otmir at the moment. So it is very, very tight. You can see the difference there. Preschnader, now has he retired in the pit lane? I think he has. Yes, he has by the looks of it. So that is Philip Preschnader also out of the race. Second retirement in this Grand Prix, but still no way through for Otmir. This will be frustrating, George. He knows he's quick, but that McLaren has just got a little bit more legs on it.
Yeah, I tell you what, the wet weather couldn't have come at a better time for Otmir, obviously at the start of this race. So it was a different story in qualifying, and this is an unbelievable performance here from an unwell Jarno Otmir as they head now in towards turn 11. Again, right in that rear wing of Wilson Hughes. Needs a big exit now if he wants to challenge the Scots as they head down this next straight. And again, that gap stretching out still. I'll tell you what else is stretching out is the gap between Sipos and Ronhaar. It's now out to 9.5 tenths again. Otis Lawrence really comfortable in third place. Jake Benham barely on the precipice of a second as well, just off the gap of 8.5 to 9 tenths of a second. So Lawrence having a good race. Ronhaar doesn't look like he's getting any closer. If anything, he's losing time on Patrick Sipos as they head through the middle into the final sector now. And, Otmir trying to get closer and closer, still working hard. And you're absolutely right, Jack, the frustration that must be coming through to the Flying Dutchman. He knows, as you say, he has the pace at the start of that second sector. He's got it in the corners, and that's what's crucial here at COTA. A very technical circuit in places, but it's those straights. That's where Wilson Hughes is frustrating him, and obviously very, very clever use of the ERS as well as Danny Berejny sets the fastest lap.
Yeah, it's strategic stuff there. There's Biancalila. Now he's crashed actually, George. Could this bring out a safety car? It does.
It does.
So here's the safety car has come out for the second week in succession. Biancalila binning it on the exit. That looks like he's crashed. Oh god, yeah, he's binned it pretty hard on the exit of the triple right-hander. So it's the exit turn 18, and that is a very, very broken Aston Martin, and the safety car appears for the first time. Now, rain's still very much in effect here, so I don't think it's going to cause too much any frantic antics on pit lane at the moment, but again, anything could happen under the safety car. But the second appearance of the safety car so far in 2 successive weeks, so I think it gives us a chance to sort of chill out for a little bit. Sipos still in the lead though, George, and is still looking very comfortable. Yeah,
in fact, Sipos getting 2 places off the start. Obviously, Otis Lawrence skating 1, Ronhaar pretty much where he is right now. Jarno Otmir with the most overtakes, 8 in total. Barry Burman obviously was 16 due to the fact that he lost connection to the lobby itself, so unable to continue his race, having a few technical troubles. So sorry to see that really, because you never want that to come between a championship fight. Even though we are only our 3rd race into the title run. Borman was on for his 3 out of 3, but it looks like his record at the very start of the season is not going to be equalled or beaten here in the PSGL PC Championship of this season 32. Sipos still holds on to the lead with a gap of 1.1. Obviously, that'll be brought right back down under safety car conditions. Ronhaar second place. Otis Lawrence with a lovely run as well. Barry Burman has rejoined, incidentally.
It's the chance. It's a chance for Burman. Yeah. So this will give him a chance to, if he can get back in, he'll be able to close right up to the back of the field again. And Ronnar was thinking about pitting there. Just had a bit of a dummy towards the pit lane, but nobody pitting. So Burman trying to connect back, but Otis Lawrence has decided to pit.
Interesting.
As has Jarno Opmeer.
Well, there you have it.
So, interesting stuff.
Fresh rubber. That's what they're looking for. Obviously, they've got to make at least one stop at this point. It was part of the strategy. Obviously, box onto the inters again, and that's exactly what they've done. So that shows the intentions. Obviously, no distinct, clear vision of dry weather through this race, Jack. It is going to be a solid, damp-conditioned race. Otis Lawrence coming out now in 13th place with Opmeer in behind as well. So, I mean, Opmeer could benefit in this situation, Jack, because he knows he has the pace. He's already a place up anyway on where he started. If he continues, he might be able to pull off a monstrous undercut on the cars in front of him here.
He certainly could. Ronnar was very much thinking about it, but decided to stay out. Of course, again, if your rival doesn't pit in front of you, you've got a big decision to make. Do you lose that track position, or do you try and stick with them as much as possible? Of course, Ronnar, he's again got to be thinking about the championship. His closest rival is now at the back of the field, and again, his other championship rival is right behind him. So it's a tough decision to make. Jake Benham now P3. Now, has Burman managed to get back in? Yes, he has. And from what I understand, his AI automatically came into the pit lane. So Barry Burman is on fresh intermediate tyres. Is now trying to catch up to the back of the field. So, redemption arc for Barry Burman here?
Well, it could be. He's in a prime spot for it. He's back in the car, and he has got a fresh set of boots as well. So a big chance for Barry Burman to come back into the fight. Obviously, a race win will be difficult. It would be mesmeric if he could pull it off. But give it a chance, folks. Of course, we're still under safety car conditions. Safety car still out on track. I think we'll get another lap, Jack. Obviously, with Burman not catching up, I think that might encourage the safety car to stay out at least once more. I'd imagine it'll come in on the next lap.
Yeah, we haven't seen the lights go out on the Aston Martin safety car just yet, so I think we're going to get another lap. We're at half distance now, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to share the stream, because this is going to be a mental ending to the Grand Prix. I feel we have Otis Lawrence, Jarno Opmeer, and all those cars behind on fresh inters, while the rest have opted to stay out. So this is an interesting calls. Now we've got some other pitters. We've got some more by the looks of it. Pedreño has come in the AlphaTauri. So he feels that fresh intermediates are the way to go. He's going to give up track position, of course, that he would have gained, but again, it could gain you a lot of time for some brand new intermediate tyres, and you're also saving them because you're behind the safety car. So this is I think could have been definitely a good call. Otis Lawrence heading that charge, followed by Jarno Opmeer. So let's see how this one ends, because well, it's going to be tight, I think, because those guys on those inters can definitely go to the end. These tyres have made it that long. It's a question now, will it dry up? We don't know, but it's a big gamble, I think. Otis Lawrence and Jarno Opmeer now, because of the wet conditions. If it doesn't dry up, those guys on front can stay out as long as they want. They absolutely can. So expect the unexpected, folks. I tell you what, this could have been a masterclass in a strategy call for Otis Lawrence and Jarno Opmeer. Ike Boehner also with the stop as well. Of course, this is his second PSGL PCF1 appearance. Joost Noordijk, this being his second as well. Barry Burman, who's brought himself right into the fight. He might have also pulled off a wonder recovery strat. I mean, we could yet see another fight, a historic fight between Opmeer and Burman, like we used to see in the grand days of old in the world of PSGL, the PC Championship. Two greats fighting it out on track. Ruben Pedreño as well, who has come in to make his stop and has certainly lit PSGL alight with his moves in the AlphaTauri as well. Just now watching Patrick Schipos, and this being his first appearance this season, and not a bad one at all. The safety car, we got confirmation, folks, will be in this lap. So let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Who is going to claim the big prize here in tonight's United States Grand Prix at PSGL? As Jack alluded to, please make sure you leave a like and share, and also subscribe to the channel. Now we're going to watch the restart. Patrick Schipos is going to slow the pack down as they tackle the hexagonal curves. You see Jake Benham just aggressively getting the tyres nice and warm for the restart, not to mention Berejne doing the same. They're all out and about doing that to make sure they get an optimised getaway
as soon as Saipos decides to put the power down. As they head now, 2 corners still remain. And now, for the second time shortly, we will be back underway. And now turning up the heat, Saipos getting prepared in behind Ron Ha, expecting him to go. They got one more corner to take before they cross the line. And very soon now, it will be Saipos who will put pedal to the metal for the second time in this United States Grand Prix. Saipos leads, heading down in towards turn 1 now. Otis Lawrence getting a lovely jump though, and already baying for blood. Harvey Cowan being his first victim as they head in towards turn 1. Lawrence up into 11th place. We've also got a scrap between Hughes and Smith as they head through the first sector. The Alpine touching wings there with that of the McLaren up at the top end. 5th place up for grabs, but Hughes staying on as he has done the entire race, Jack Cannan.
Yeah, a crucial move for Otis Lawrence because Otmir's stuck behind Cowan now. He's got so much more grip. Look at this round the outside for Otmir. And Otis Lawrence is scything through. Look at this. Suriano gets the move done on the Haas. Here comes Otmir switching back underneath him as well. Could this be an inspired call from these guys at the back now? It's Otis Lawrence and Jarno Otmir together on track, pushing through the field. The young pretender, the debutant versus the 2-time world champion. Can they get themselves through the field as quickly as possible? They've got 12 laps to get up to the top here. This could be absolute box office. Meanwhile, Duncan Hoffman versus Chanakinchi through there. There's Ronar versus Sipos up front, so we're going to cut to that. Sipos versus Ronar for the lead up at the front. Ronar down the inside. Will he have the traction underneath him? Sipos struggling to get on the power here, and Sipos keeping him behind, parking the car on the apex here. Ronar trying to go all around the outside, runs out of road on the outside line, still has a nose alongside, but doesn't quite get alongside, and brings Jake Benham right into the fight here as Lawrence and Otmir they're right on the back of these guys. Otmir now around the outside of Lawrence. Here he comes on the inside, second to last corner. Otmir versus Lawrence up the inside. They touch wheels through the second right-hander. Up towards the last corner they go again. Lawrence not giving him an inch through the last corner. Otmir back on the power again as they begin lap 17 to 28. This is absolute box office stuff. Up towards the last corner, the first corner, sorry, they go again. Lawrence on the outside, Otmir on the inside. Who has the better traction coming through here? It's Otmir through on the inside on Otis Lawrence. And now, how far can he go, George?
Box office is the word, Jack Cannan. Jarno Otmir moving up into P10 on those fresh intermediate tyres, putting down the pretender. That is Otis Lawrence, the young Welshman who is looking to become the master as his apprentice, or himself, who's been trying to get himself into the mix of F1 esports. Otmir up the inside of Duncan Hoffland, now up into P9 as well, knocking at that wood, chopping down the delta. Here comes Otis Lawrence as well, side by side with the Aston Martin Academy driver of Duncan Hoffland. Lawrence up into P10 as well. Otmir flying. Next on his list, it's Chanakinchi.
This is absolutely incredible. Sipos leads Ronar second, but this is absolutely wonderful to watch. We've got Otis Lawrence and Jarno Otmir carving their way through the field on brand new intermediate tyres. How far can they get? We've got 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go when we cross the line next time. There's still a lot of time. Jarno Otmir now behind Chanakinchi. P8 on the cards. Does he have the traction? He certainly does. Sticks it up the inside of Chanakinchi. He's in front before they even get to the exit. It's P8 for Jarno Otmir, and it continues as he comes through. Otis Lawrence now braving it up the inside, following the 2-time world champion through, and gets himself through. This is the future is what we're watching here. Jarno Otmir, the 2-time F1 Esports world champion, versus a future star. Otis Lawrence following him through and learning from the best.
They call him the Xbox GOAT. I tell you what, he's leaving the PC talents quaking in their boots. Jarno Otmir also looking to do the same. This time to Tomi Parajic. Turn 1 is up next. Jarno Otmir down the inside of turn 1 here on lap 18 of 28. 10 laps of magic left. I'm getting Australia vibes from that last to P3 performance. And this is brilliant from the Flying Dutchman, showing us exactly why he is that. Opting for that clever stop that would allow him to fight for the top end. The race win is certainly up for grabs. Luke Smith now right in front of him. The duel that ignited this race as Otis Lawrence gets a 3-second time penalty. That will certainly not help his cause. Jarno purple in the first sector. Here comes Jarno Otmir now in towards turn 11. Down the inside of Luke Smith in the Alpine. The Flying Dutchman, the 2-time esports champ. He's in P6.
P6, and unfortunately Lawrence said that will not help his cause, that penalty. He's trying to get past Tomek Paradzic now as well. Paradzic on the defence here, down towards the left-hander. Inside line for Lawrence now. He'll have a lot more grip down the inside, shows his nose. Paradzic gives him space as they come through the left-hander. Paradzic has the inside for the next corner. Good racing between these two young guys. Leaves him room on the inside again. He'll have the traction on the outside. Meanwhile, look up in front. There goes Otmir again. Up the inside. He's P5. He continues this amazing charge to the field. Now he's got a big gap to bridge though. 1.4 seconds up to Danny Berezny. He started 15th. He's now 5th. But I notice a big thing, George. It stopped raining.
Yeah, it stopped raining, folks. Was it the right decision? But regardless, if he catches up with the group in front and they have to switch to slick tyres, there is still a chance Otmir could be in this fight. He goes purple on his last lap, a 1:45.182, the time to beat. Jarno Otmir, ever prosaic, ever dynamic, ever relentless, here in P5, knocking at that wood, and now up against a fellow veteran in the world of F1 esports, Danny Berezny, next on his list, and also co-op career teammate Jake Benham as well, currently sat in P3, hunting down Thomas Ronhaar.
Yeah, of course. Now it's a question of how quickly does this dry up. Of course, this is still an inspired call from Jarno Otmir and Mercedes. They've gained track position, and he's gained a whole second on Berezny in even that one sector alone. This is massive. Australia season 27, even 28 vibes at the moment. Otis Lawrence battling it out with Luke Smith, who goes a little bit deeper, parks it on the apex, and he continues to fight his way through. This is absolutely wonderful to watch. Here comes Jarno Otmir then. Has he got enough now to try and get in front of Berezny? He's top 5 anyway. Even if it does dry up now, he's gained all that track position with that call to go on to those intermediate tyres. And it's still at the front though. We still haven't mentioned it at the moment. Here comes Otis Lawrence. We'll mention it in a second as these two fight it out once again. Lawrence up the inside. It won't mean anything unless the steward's inquiry later, so we can't rule that out. Here comes Otis Lawrence then. Luke Smith on the inside. He'll stick his car in, but again Otis Lawrence will have that traction on those intermediates to stick it around the outside, which will change to the inside. Luke Smith will try and brave it out around the outside. He won't have a lot of grip there, and through into P7 goes Otis Lawrence once again. But in the meantime, through goes Jarno Otmir. He's up to P4 and he's up behind his teammate. There's a podium on the cards, a potential race win on the cards for Jarno Otmir here.
Yeah, and will Benham give team orders? Fastest lap for Jarno Otmir. Will Benham move an inch? Not at all. He spies his teammate on his left-hand side. Jarno Otmir, he's into 3rd place. Podium on the table now. 8 laps still to go. And Jarno Otmir is knocking them down one by one. It is absolutely dramatic scenes here at the United States Circuit of COTA. We're watching them now peel through. 8 laps left to go. Seaposs leads. Ronhaar in second. His fellow Dutch counterpart Jarno Otmir is coming at him like a man possessed. Here with 8 laps, as I said, to go, folks.
Yeah, 8 laps to go, and he's catching these guys at a rate that is absolutely unbelievable. Remember, these guys up front have not stopped. They're on 20-lap-old intermediate tyres, and again, because of the safety car, he's got so much fresher tyres. There's Otis Lawrence now, another move up to P6. He goes, and it continues again. I'm just looking at the tyre edge. Jarno Otmir, 6-lap-old intermediate tyres. Thomas Ronhaar and the guys, everyone around them, 19-lap-old intermediate tyres. There is a monumental difference in the tyres at the moment, and this is just wonderful to watch. So Jarno Otmir now, next up on his list, his Dutch counterpart, Thomas Ronhaar. How difficult will this move be? How easy can he make it? Well, it's certainly not going to be too easy of a task anyway. We're going to have 8 laps to go when we cross the line. The rain has stopped. How quickly does it dry up, of course? The crossover point, of course, we know whenever that DRS sign gets activated. Patrick Seaposs is doing a wonderful job out front. He's led ever since the disconnect for Barry Borman. He has led every single lap of this race so far. But for how much longer can he hang on? Jarno Otmir now behind. Another fastest lap of the race for Jarno Otmir now as he catches up to Thomas Ronhaar. But maybe now he gets a chance to chill out. He's got time and he's got the tyres, which are, get this, 13 laps younger than the guys in front.
Yeah, no, I tell you what, Jack, I'm absolutely speechless here. And this is absolutely insane. Lap 21 of 28, folks. Ronhart in second place, but for how long will he stay there? Jarno Opmeer breathing down his neck. Jake Benham in behind as well. It's on for a good day for Mercedes. It's absolutely scintillating scenes here with the rain cascading down. Opmeer not feeling his best. He's performing though at his best with fresher intermediate tyres. He spies a wild Thomas Ronhart. Takes the outside line now into turn 11. Heading out now. The traction on Jarno Opmeer's car. That fresher rubber is working for him. It's cooking. Down this next straight, he's got turn 12 up next, the speed trap beyond. Jarno Opmeer side by side with Thomas Ronhart. Plenty of room, plenty of space. The Dutchman up into P2. A race win on the cards. Don't write him off. Don't ever write off the Flying Dutchman.
No, we said it in Q1, didn't we as well? Don't ever write Jarno Opmeer off at any point in this race. So Ronhart did not fight that in the slightest, didn't even use any ERS. And Opmeer now is bearing down on Patrick Sipos, who must be absolutely furious. He's not put a foot wrong this whole race, but the strategy call was inspired from Jarno Opmeer, and he's now scything away at that gap out front. He can see that Alpine in front of him, and a race on the cards to equal what he did last season. Don't forget, this is a very similar scenario to how he won last time, and he continues to prove why he's one of the best. Jarno Opmeer, another fastest lap of the race, and Patrick Sipos out front. How hard can he fight the 21 lap old intermediate tyres versus 8 lap old intermediates? It's not a fight. He hasn't got the tyres to fight too hard with. But again, you cannot fault the performance of Patrick Sipos so far today.
No, you cannot. It's been absolutely scintillating. Patrick Sipos on his debut performance this season. Plus, it's not his debut in PCF1 of PSGL. Of course, he's a former race winner. But this season, his first appearance has now seen the Alpine cruise down the hill. Jarno Opmeer cutting the delta. Constantly, absolutely constantly, went faster again on his last lap, holds the fastest lap of the race. This could be the greatest league racing performance we have ever seen, certainly here at PSGL in the PC Championship. Jarno going for gold here, going for magic, certainly gunning for what will be another stellar performance by the Flying Dutchman. Sipos trying to hold him back. 0.5 of a second is all that separates them. They've got one final sector to take. Before then, they'll venture on to lap 23, which will leave 5 final laps to go. And now Opmeer chasing his first win this season. This could be the crux. Remember, we've seen seasons go by. Barry Burremand taking the opening wins. Jarno Opmeer would then take him with races still left to go. Could this be the moment where we see the reignition of Jarno Opmeer in this version of the Formula One game? Heads through the final 2 corners now on this lap. Surely on this occasion up towards turn 1. He's done it here so many times before, but he's going to ride that rear wing of Patrick Sipos as they make the climb up towards turn 1. Jarno Opmeer has a look to the inside, goes for the move for the lead. The Flying Dutchman to the front. The Silver Arrows with a nose in front. They remain side by side. Sipos still going for it here, defending for his life. An absolute defensive masterclass, but through goes Opmeer once again. He has done it so often. This race, gargantuan effort, Jarno Opmeer, and he is on top on lap 23.
Well, this is getting even more interesting, George. What a move from Opmeer, but Ronhart has boxed for dries, as has many others, but he's gone to the lead on pure merit, on sheer strategic masterclass from Mercedes. He leads for the first time this season. Sipos in behind him now, but Opmeer has boxed for those dry tyres, on those soft tyres. Otis Lawrence, another move made. He's up to P4. Danny Perez now folds in behind him, but Opmeer now has got the bit between his teeth. Who could have predicted this? 15th up to the lead, and how much now can he hang on to take what would be one of his finest victories in his career in PSGL? I would have to say that one of the finest ones I've seen. Yellow flags out in sector 2 for a spinner. Joost Noordijk, he spun on those mediums. Now remember, of course, we've got to keep an eye on that delta, because those dries could come in very, very quickly. What's the call here? Do they stay out? It doesn't look, those inters look like they don't have a lot of grip at the moment. I think this could be a crossover point here now for Jarno Opmeer. Does he come in to box for dries? He does indeed. In they come, responding immediately to Thomas Ronhart's pitting for that dry tyre. Sipos in behind him as well, as does Lawrence. Lawrence going to stay out though, out front on those inters, trying something a little bit different, but boxing onto the soft compound tyres now. Was this an inspired call again. Out he comes now. We're watching for Ronar, of course. He had that extra lap to get the temperature into them. So let's see, what is the gap going to be? Ronar coming out of the final corner now, struggling for grip. Where is Otmir now? On his way out of the pit lane. Watch to the left of your screen. He's not enough in sight. Out he comes. And Otmir now into what is the net race lead now. 5 laps to go. And he's managed to keep himself in front. And Sipos as well has managed to keep himself in front of Ronar as well. So that extra lap didn't quite work out. Crossover point is there, but Otmir now firmly has a chokehold on this race. DRS enabled, and Otmir now net race leader.
Yeah, and Mirko Suriano went fastest of all on the soft tyres, so we are back to dry conditions, folks. Otmir as well in front. Harvey Cowan, Ruben Pedreño, Otis Lawrence all on the intermediates. They're going to certainly be feeling worse for wear now as they venture around this circuit. Otis Lawrence just heading towards the back end of this long straight at turn 12 now. And Jarno Otmir letting fly, and he's cutting at that wood between him and Harvey Cowan. It certainly seems to me that the slick tyres are certainly grooving right now. Patrick Sipos in behind. He's not out of the question though, Jack. DRS may be enabled. He's right on the cusp of it. Ronhar also in the mix here.
I'm going to be watching Ronar like a hawk, George, because you have to feel that now these guys' setup will come into effect. Is Ronar on the dry set? What is the condition of these cars right now? This could be a very interesting last few laps, but again, the laps are ticking down, so Ronar needs to make moves now if he wants to get up to the front. Sipos there still hanging in with Otmir though, and again, there's a bit of traffic for Otmir to deal with now. There's Harvey Cowan on the inters, who's just trying desperately to stay in front, has to make the move through. Sipos now also has to try and get through. DRS for him, Ronar fastest lap of the race, and here comes now. That'll be Sipos up the inside of the Ferrari, and you can see now Sipos and Ronar, they are absolutely not out of it at the moment. Sipos will desperately want to get that lead back. He wants his second win in PSGL, and again, laps are ticking down. Can Otmir hang on here for what would be? But there's the penalty for Ronar, and that is going to be a big help in this situation.
Yeah, Ronhar picks up a penalty at the crucial end of a race. Almost a carbon copy of what happened at Australia. Don't forget as well, Otis Lawrence, he may be in front. He might try and go to the end, but nevertheless, he does have a penalty as well. Jarno Otmir, who's trying to gain on Ruben Pedreño. The time gap not coming down perhaps as quick as he would have liked, but the instant danger, as far as Otmir is concerned, is also Patrick Sipos in behind, who does have DRS at this point. So lots of factors, lots of variables. Probably one of the most exciting finales we've had in PSGL history, Jack Canan.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think I admire the call from Pedreño and Lawrence, to be honest, because if those guys had started fighting hard, had an accident or something, they could certainly have been in with a chance, but the time gap is just too little for them to benefit from this. So fair play for trying. Pedreño still desperately trying to hang on as Jake Benham gets through past Harvey Cowan, and they continue on their way. Otis Lawrence, though, he's just staying out. May as well try something different and try to hang on here, but Otmir now catching up to Pedreño. What you would say is the absolute perfect place here. Has DRS on Pedreño as well. They're just desperately trying to hang on to a position here with just a couple laps to go. Pedreño defending, but that's not going to help a lot because those dry tyres have got so much grip. Otmir all of them around the outside of Pedreño. Sipos going to try and follow through at the same time as well, and does do so. So now the gap is going to come down very, very quickly up to Otis Lawrence. Those tyres are absolutely done, and you can expect that move to be made. But again, I can understand the thinking from Otis Lawrence there, but if there was just a few less laps, maybe it could have worked.
But he could still be on for his podium at least, Jack. Tell you what, if it carries on the way it's going. Obviously, Ronhar has got 3 seconds as well. Joost Noordijk going fastest of all on the soft tyres. Otis literally doing whatever he can to hold on to the deficit, but Jarno really starting to chop at that time yet again. It's now within 4 seconds and right on the cusp of that penalty coming into play. But look at Patrick Sipos now getting so close to the rear wing of Jarno Otmir as they head down now in towards turn 12. An incredible duel, an incredible battle. We're right on the cusp of it, and Sipos looks so quick on those slick tyres, Jack.
It really does. Sipos is a weapon today. Has come out of the blocks, really showing what he can do here. He has won in PSGL before, back in Silverstone, but we have not seen this kind of pace from Sipos in a long time, and we like to see it, honestly. Fighting away with Jarno Otmir up here. They got 2.2 seconds back to Ronar as well, so they've got a big gap back. Lap 27 of 28. gap is coming down super quickly. He's in the penalty range now anyway, so he will have to make the move. Not a bad strategy call from Otis Lawrence, but again, there was one less lap. It could have worked, but again, that is the thinking of racing. Jake Benham getting past Ruben Pedreño on the inside there as well. He's got 3 seconds to run. So he's actually not going to get a position there as they come through. But here comes Otmir now. Look at the difference in tyre as they come through. Look at that down the inside. Huge, huge pace advantage. And Otmir now goes through to the lead. Sipos around the outside as well. Absolutely nothing he could do. If you wanted the visual representation of how quick those dry tyres are, there it is.
Yeah, well, there you go, folks. Penultimate lap of the race. Jarno Otmir now leads the way, but Patrick Schipos now within perfect proximity to unleash the DRS. Now, what does Otmir do? Does he give the position and fights on the final lap, or will he fight Patrick Schipos right to the end? In towards the next lap they go. Otmir not fighting it too aggressively. I think I know what's coming, Jack. One last lap battle as we head into lap 28.
Yeah, he wants to be the chasing car. Sipos to the lead, though. He'll desperately want this. He wants to win here. And what a way to do it if he does do this. Lets him through on the inside. But does Sipos have the pace now? Could that have been a mistake to let Sipos go? Because we know how quick this young Hungarian is as they come round to the last two corners. But he hasn't got the ERS, Sipos. He's got less to deal with. There's the penalty. There's the ceiling blow. He's run wide. And that is surely now the end of the charge for Patrick Sipos. There is no danger from anybody now for Jarno Otmir to do this. A mistake. He ran wide in that last corner, and that is what has sealed it. Surely he doesn't need to do it, but again, he'll want to do it because we never know what can happen in the stewards' room afterwards as there continues to be fights further down. Huge battle going on between Wilson Hughes and Luke Smith and Tomek Paradzic further down the order there. Luke Smith going up to P7. We have to keep our eyes, though, on this leading two here. There was a mistake there from Sipos. Runs wide, picks up the warning, but again, we can't cut out anything. He'll want to take this on track nonetheless, but what a Grand Prix. This is one of the best we have ever had. One of the most stunning drives we have seen. 15th up to second and is now fighting for an on-track victory. Here he comes now, dumping the ERS. DRS open. He wants this on track. Here comes Jarno Otmir now. Sipos to the inside. Otmir to the outside line. Down towards the left-hander they come. Side by side for the win here. Sipos down the inside. Jarno leaves him room. He'll have the inside for the next corner again. And he will come now to the next part of the corner. Sipos desperately trying to hang on. He's there though. He's got the inside, but Otmir is through on the left-hand side. Hugs the apex. Gets on the power nicely. And that is job done. Jarno Otmir now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Otmir wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix to the end. Sipos finishes in second. Thomas Ronar is on the podium but drops down because of the penalty. Danny Beresne secures himself a third place in front of Jake Benham. Further down, Ronar P5, Lawrence, Smith, Paradzic, Wilson Hughes, and Duncan Hoffland rounds it out. Could you have predicted that Jarno Otmir wins the US Grand Prix?
Well, fond memories of COTA, Jarno Otmir has them. What a devastating performance here in round 3 of the PSGL PC Championship. It looked all over after qualifying, but never discount the abilities of the Flying Dutchman. He's back in an abundance. The fire is reignited. Jarno Otmir is your winner in the PSGL United States Grand Prix, finishing ahead of none other than Patrick Schipos, who was showing the pace right through this superb qualifying session, not to mention the race itself, leading most of the way. But Jarno Otmir is your winner, folks, in devastating fashion. I mean, I have to tell you, scintillating to pick the strategy that he chose to manage the race the way he did. The rain started, the rain stopped. He had to swap tyres, 2 stops. Intermediate tyres on 2 stints, not to mention then finishing on the softs, and managed to carve his way through the field in what certainly has to be the greatest PSGL performance, the greatest league racing performance of all time, Jack Cannan.
Hands down. That is the most phenomenal drive I have seen from anybody. 15th on the grid, 2 stopped, and wins on track as well, not just on penalties. He got it done on track. Jarno Otmir, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick Sipos you have to say, brilliant. Simply brilliant for Patrick Sipos as well. And it's a double Hungarian podium as well. Danny Berezny finishing on the podium for the first time this season as well. But again, gains in the championship. Jake Benham, again, so consistent. Finishes P4. Ronar finishes P5. So to be fair, that is not as big a loss as I think that as Barry Borman would have expected overall. Otis Lawrence, I mean, what a brilliant performance once again. P6 in his one there, and of course with the penalty drops down to P6, but would have finished in a P4. Luke Smith, P7, Tomek Paradzic, and then you have Wilson Hughes and Duncan Hoffman. That is, I can't believe that just happened. I was ironically thinking Yarda might do it, but I tell you what, George, the stats just don't lie, do they?
I'm speechless, Jack. I am absolutely speechless. You just can't write him off, folks. I tell you what, Yarda Watmere taking his first win this season, and it won't be the last. Not if we see yet another performance like that. He proved that nothing is wrong. Remember, Jack, he was unwell coming into tonight's race. He was up against it, backs against the wall. There were talks whether he would race, whether he wouldn't. There was doubt in the mind of many, but he came in. And I tell you what, that performance on track, the greatest we have ever seen, folks at home. Incredible. Incredible. Finite. Incredible indeed. I suppose we should talk about driver of the day, Jack. Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with George Morgan.
I'm going with Jack Cannan, so it's all good.
There we go.
Honestly, folks, incredible scenes. Obviously, let us know who your driver of the day is. I mean, it's without question. What a scintillating race! What a performance! And I hope we're going to get a chance to speak to him, because I bet you.
Oh, there he is.
He feels $1 million. Is he in the commentators chat? Should we have a look? We're going to have an interview with the greatest esports driver of all time. What an incredible race! Yardo, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I hear you're not well, but you didn't show it.
Yeah, I'm not very well for the past few days. So, yeah.
Can you just explain how you did that? I mean, I think that has got to be up there as the greatest league racing performance of all time.
Well, the qualifying wasn't really.
Well, no, we'll push that under the bed for a minute. Let's talk about the race, because I mean, let's talk about that first stint, because that was the key moment, and then of course the pit stop, carving through the field the way you were. How important? And can you just answer my question on the setup? Were you running a high downforce setup?
I wasn't running full wet setup. I was running something in between, because I knew it was going to dry up. But yeah. Looking at straight line speed, I think some people had the same, some people were definitely lower. So yeah, I think it helped in the first few laps, but overtaking was very, very difficult with it. That's why I got stuck behind Wilson for so long. But then with the safety car, I was like, well, I might as well pit, because I started P50 anyway. Can't go much lower than that anyway. Yeah, I didn't expect to have that much pace advantage on new inters. And then I think because it was so much easier to overtake, my pace that I did have, but I couldn't use because I was stuck behind other people, I could really show them. So yeah, very happy that was a wet race, to be honest, because otherwise I wouldn't have gone much forward, I think so.
Well, you were happy. We were delighted. I mean, we got to see a strategy change-up, I think, for the first time this season. I mean, obviously, the way you carved your way through the field, we witnessed an incredible battle between you and Luke Smith. Obviously, did that frustrate you at all, the fact that you could not get past Luke at that time? I mean, you were sort of looking each way and every way possible to get past him. But there was the first... You seemed to be quicker in that first part of Sector 2. That you seem to be better in the corners. I think looking at Wilson as well, for example, I think they were sort of carrying a better straight line speed setup, so you were far better in the corners. But you just seemed to pull it out the bag. I mean, it was such a grinding race. And then of course there was the main stop, which was the stop onto the intermediate tyres. I mean, how can you sum up a race like that? Because I don't think there are words you can use to sum a race like that up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I didn't expect much from this race because I was sick in bed for the past 4 days. So I'd spent a half an hour before the race or an hour before the race I started practicing. And then I saw the wets and that gave me a little bit of hope. So Yeah, I think to be fair, the only reason I won was because it was wet, of course. And I think I have that slight edge over others in the wet, which really helps. Around COTA especially, because it's pretty easy to overtake around COTA, even though it's still really hard in the wet. And then, yeah, of course, different strategies help me overtake even easier. So, yeah, I think in the last lap was a bit tricky with Patrick, because I think Patrick had slightly more straight line speed than me. And yeah, that's when it dried up, he had, I think, a little bit of a pace advantage, wasn't much. I think, yeah, that made it hard a little bit. But then Patrick got the track limit penalty as well. I still want to get him on track because you never know if it gets removed, of course. So that's why I went to try and overtake him on track in the last lap as well.
Absolutely. Well, it was certainly a great move and a great little battle to end the race. And then it's been a great, a great couple of weeks for you. You come off the back of a sterling performance in Race of Champions, where you and Lucas Blakely showed that sim racers do deserve to be at the precipice of racing, battling against the likes of Mika Hakkinen and Valtteri Bottas. And you pulled off a great result there as a unit for E-Rock, and now you come back and you deliver a sterling performance. You must be thrilled about how the last 2 weeks have gone, apart from the illness, of course.
yeah. Race Champions was amazing, especially because I think this year we were much more at the pace. Last year, I think we had a little bit less practice than the real drivers because there was like the track got flooded by the ocean. So this year we were much more on it. I absolutely hated myself for jumping the start against Mika because I had a great run that race, and then I ended up still not winning against him. So yeah, I was very frustrated with that. But yeah, against Valtteri and Mick, I only finished like 1 or 2 tenths behind as well. So I was very happy with that still, considering last year I was like 5 seconds slower than Mick. But yeah, it was so much fun.
And great to meet an old karting companion in Mick Schumacher as well.
Yeah. Of course, last year he was there as well. Now he's in the same team as me, of course. So I'll definitely see him around Brackley quite often. But yeah, he's. We already spoke a little bit about sim racing when we were at Race of Champions, and yeah, I'll for sure give him some more tips. So
brilliant.
So we get up to pace.
Okay, so we could be saying, what you're saying is Mick Schumacher PSGL debut inbound. Is that what we're?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure I will.
Brilliant. Jarno, congratulations on what can only be described as I'm going to call it the greatest league race of all time. What a win! Greatest performance we've ever seen. I can't wait to see the video of it when it comes out, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you,
Jarno. Next up, we will bring in another young man that's certainly proven to be a cutter amongst the rest. Patrick Sheepos joins us in the commentary box. Patrick, heartbreak for yourself, I think. You did absolutely everything to hold back Jarno. Of course, it led to a time penalty. Not sure whether you can get that removed, but to see you both fighting towards the very end, you displayed a terrific mentality to keep him at bay. We all know how great Jarno is, but your drive and your qualifying was brilliant as well. So you must be thrilled, at least with your performance.
Yeah, first of all, hello, Gio. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a bit of a disaster that I didn't win the race, but looking at my esports season, it's a great improvement overall, and honestly, I just need to keep this up, keep these great results up, and hopefully I can start next year just like this.
Well, I mean, look, Patrick, we all know you're quick. I mean, we saw previously you're a winner in PSGL as well. I got fond memories of Silverstone, where you would take pole position there as well. But, I mean, this was a great performance. Your first race this season in PSGL, you must get instilled with a lot of confidence after a result like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, from last Sunday, I did WR and I was leading as well. So I got a confidence from that as well. But honestly, I think I'm just improving. I'm still young, and I think I have a lot of potential. Not to put my ego at first, but I think I have a lot of potential. And yeah, I can't wait for the season. I'm preparing really hard, working really hard, like I never did. So yeah, it's just great.
Plenty to look forward to then, obviously, from yourself. Obviously, you've been with Alpine now off the back of an esports season. Obviously, you're basically captaining the team now, near enough. Obviously, one of the more senior contenders there. What's it been like transitioning into esports as an esports driver? Of course, I got to commentate on you in the final event. Not to mention the races you were in. How was that experience for you?
I mean, it was great, honestly. It was kind of hard to get. I don't know if you know, but I had to move to France last year, which was quite a transition for me at 18 years old, which was crazy for me back then. But now I'm from home, and honestly, it's just I'm getting more comfortable racing in esports. I don't know if a lot of the guys know, but I didn't start too early this esports career. I only started in 2020, like professionally, which is which is crazy from my side, honestly, and a big improvement. But yeah, I'll be settling down really good. Let's say I'm the daddy of the team. Luke knows. So yeah, we are joking about that a lot. So I actually said it in an interview as well. But yeah,
feels like Comrade Gaming all over again. Incredible.
CRG, right? The good old days.
CRG goats.
Yeah.
Go Comrades. But yeah, no, incredible to say the least. I mean, obviously, Patrick, in terms of your esports future, I mean, what's your plans? Is there anything you could say, or are you confident that you're going to be on the grid next season?
I'm confident I'm going to be on the grid, that's for sure, and hopefully I can show what I'm capable of as well, because this year haven't showed what I can do.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to seeing it, Patrick. If it's anything like today, I'm sure that we'll see a lot more. So congratulations on a great race.
Hopefully.
Definitely. I think it's definitely. Well done, Cyphos. We'll see you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Next up, folks, we have the man who has certainly been in amongst the world of F1 esports for a long, long time. It's none other than F1 esports stalwart Danny Berezhny, picking up yet another podium. Danny, what a performance from yourself as well. You had a lot of work to do out there. It certainly was a tricky race to manage given the amount of strategy stops.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's very nice to hear George Morgan's voice, because I absolutely love him as a commentator.
Very kind, Danny.
Thank you very much for making me feel very, very old. But yeah, I'm indeed part of F1 esports since the first season. I'm part of F1 esports since, for an example, Jake Benham. He didn't even turn 10 years old. So,
incredible, isn't it? Incredible. Yeah, it's true, Danny. It's true, isn't it? I was right. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, hopefully not getting slower with time. I want to age like a wine, just getting better and more expensive with the years ahead. Anyway, it was indeed a fun race. I was quite disappointed after the qualifying session, because I wasted a fresh set of soft tires in Q1, and then I also loaded in wet setup because I knew the race was going to be wet, and then because Patrick got a penalty by the game, which was unfair, we needed to restart the session, but it makes me frustrated because I know many people prioritize the qualifying session just by looking at the top speeds, and I really made a sacrifice, and I could gain nothing in the race after all, because everyone could load in a fresh setup when the session got restarted for the race. But from P6 I kept P6 at the start, and I felt like I have a little bit of pace advantage, but it's just so hard to overtake on the rain, especially when the car ahead gets slipstream as well from the car in front of them. So I just prayed for the pistol strategy to work. I had a bit of luck as well with the disconnection of Barry Borland, but I still made 2 overtakes on track, so it put me a P4 position on track, and then P3 after all in the standings, starting from P6, so I don't think I can be disappointed.
No, absolutely not. I thought it was a great try from yourself, Danny, and like you said, changeable conditions. It's hard to manage a race like that. You have to really think on the spot, test the mentality of a driver in those circumstances. Obviously, coming off the back, you've been with Alfa Romeo, of course, last season. Obviously, hopes ahead, looking to another esports season as well this year. Are you feeling confident?
Yeah. So things are already looking great in terms of me being able to secure a seat with any team, basically, because cars are equal in F1 esports. So just to be on the grid, it's already a huge opportunity. But yeah, obviously every other team has a little bit of a different approach to the project. So I hope we can move ahead this year in terms of that. And also, I just want to honestly congratulate to Jarno for winning the race from P15. The guy is absolutely crazy. If the safety car comes in 1 or 2 laps earlier, I would have done the same, but it was Jeff was already saying 10 minutes and it's going to dry up, and it just didn't dry up, and he was absolutely rapid, positioning himself perfectly, pitting in the perfect lap from inters to dry. So honestly, well done. The guy is GOAT.
Yeah, well, I think P3 for yourself, in what I could only describe as probably one of the greatest league races of all time, I think is a testament to your abilities as well, Danny. So congratulations on a brilliant third place, my friend.
Thank you very much, and have a nice evening, everyone.
You too. Thank you, Danny. What a legend indeed. Danny Berejny, everybody, confirmed to be on the grid for this season of F1 Esports. We're going to speak to another young man as well. A young man I've wanted to speak to for a long time. Someone you would have seen dominating in the world of Xbox. He has since made the transition across and is now looking to race on the PC platform. We have got none other than Otis Lawrence here in the commentary box. Otis, it looked like you pulled a worldie. You stayed out where others didn't. You're a bit unlucky towards the end. It just dried up that little bit too quick, didn't it?
Yeah, very happy with the performance, and yeah, it was not ideal, the rain, obviously. Practiced a lot in the dry, and yeah, took a bit of a gamble with a safety car to pit, because yeah, I don't really have much to lose at the moment because I'm not really fighting for a championship, so I just decided to risk something. It worked with Jarno, but it didn't work with me very well because I think he was using a bit of a wet setup than me. But yeah, very, very pleased for my first race, pretty much. And yeah, hopefully we can carry on for the next one.
Well, I tell you what, 2 races in, Otis. Obviously, we won't talk about last week. You know, things went a little wrong at the start, but you know, never mind. You came back, and once again, your second Q3 appearance in 2 races. You must take a lot of solace from that.
Yeah, I feel very very proud of myself to get the Q3 against the best drivers on the game. So yeah, very pleased.
Yeah, and at such a young age as well. What are your hopes for the future? Obviously, you're going to continue with league racing. You're still a little bit young for the esports series like challenges, things like that. So, you know, is it just focusing on yourself and just trying to keep yourself competitive for the next couple of years?
Yeah, I don't really need to rush anything as I'm quite young at the moment. So yeah, just gonna keep trying to do my best in these league races and just try and get as good points and try and go for race wins sometimes, and yeah, just trying to keep improve myself all the time, pretty much.
Yeah, and hopefully join what will be a goated esports lineup with you and Ido, yeah, for representing Wales.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. That's what I like to hear. As a fellow Welshman, I think that's great, Otis. But inspired performance from yourself. What was it like out there in terms of strategy? Did you at all think about going onto the slick tyres at all towards the end of the race, or was it full on intermediates? I'm going to stick with track position.
Yeah, well, I did have 2 thoughts. One of them was to stay out, which I did, and the second one was to pit, but I just decided to risk it because why not? I have nothing to lose. So yeah, it didn't work the best. Obviously, I finished P6, but you know, gotta try something. You live and you learn, don't you? So you know.
You certainly do, and I'm sure you've got plenty more to come as well, Otis. But a wonderful, wonderful race from yourself, an excellent qualifying session, and without a doubt, I'm sure there'll be race wins for you around the corner. Look forward to seeing you at our next one, Otis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Otis Lawrence, everybody. Thank you ever so much for joining us, Otis. Right, folks, well, that brings us to the end of what can only be described as an incredible night of racing. Jack, in terms of, I'm not sure if we've got a Richter scale for stuff like this. Just say you are muted on Discord, just to say before you say anything. Just making sure. But obviously we've just heard obviously Jarno's words there. He certainly did not sound well, but we've got to rank this victory up there as probably the greatest. I'd say this squashes Australia in the first season.
I think so too. Obviously, Australia was was good, but
yeah.
This was just another level. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it was just. I think the difference was, with Australia at that time, Jarno was one of the quickest guys in the game and was also fighting for the championship at the time. Nobody expected this one at all. I think that's what makes it so much better. is the complete unexpected nature of it, and just I think that the battling as well was just brilliant. Especially I think the one between himself and Luke Smith. I mean, it was hard, but there was no shoving each other off the track or anything like that. It was incredibly fair. So it was just brilliant. I think that goes down as one of, well, his greatest drive and the best league race I have watched.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm in agreement. The greatest league race of all time, folks, in my personal viewpoint. I'm sure you have your opinion as well at home, and I highly recommend that you rewatch it time and time again, because I certainly will be after seeing that. I mean, just to digest what we just witnessed. I mean, folks, this is why we love league racing. This is why I love league racing. This is why Jack Cannan loves league racing as well. He loves it, and we certainly will be remembering that performance for a long, long time. Jarno Watmere getting himself off to a winning start to the season. Obviously, 3 races in. Barry Bowman claiming the first 2. I'm having flashbacks of season 1, folks. Next week, I will not be here, of course. It will be Jack Cannan. There will be a new face here in the commentary box, as I am going away somewhere. I can't tell you yet, but you will find out soon. If you want to check me out as well, first of all, if you want to check PSGL out, make sure, first of all, that you leave a like and also subscribe to the Premier Sim Gaming League's channel, folks. If you want to stay up to date for when we go racing here live here at PSGL. Not forgetting the Twitter and Instagram accounts at Premier Sim GL. And you can get all the latest news, all the latest updates, standings, whatever it may be. Also, you can join the Discord as well if you feel up to it too. Don't forget as well, check out GT Omega. Of course, this series is powered by GT Omega, of course, and you can make sure that you stay up to date with all their products as well. They, of course, being advertised here at PSGL. You can also check me out on Twitter too, folks. I am at George Morgan TV. That's where you can find me. George Morgan, of course, at your service. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok as well. Jack Cannan, please share your social media tag if you please.
Absolutely. So if you want to get me on Instagram, it is Jack_Cannan. If you want to get me on Twitter, it is at JackCComs, the 2 C's, don't forget, as always. But before we go, we want to say a massive thank you to everyone who watched today. Absolutely brilliant stream. And we hit 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much for all the support.
25k, folks. You guys are magic. I tell you what, folks, enjoy yourself. Thank you for all your support as always. We'll see you next time when we go live here at Premier Sim Gaming League's PSGL. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.